This feature our Princess Sarah, the best girl ever. Lots of love from Mum and your big sister Clodagh. Have a great day. Greg, good morning to you.
Good morning, Lee. Have a great day yourself. Did you have a nice weekend?
I did. I was busy enough now, but it was good. You know.
You had the tractor out?
No tractors, no. I don't know what I was at. If you ask me now, I had a good weekend.
Good. That's good to see. See you tomorrow.
Aye, please go.
Tuesday morning. All right, it is 9 o'clock. Time for news update. Hiya, Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The parish priest in Creeslough says people in the village and the surrounding areas are still numb 1 month after 10 people lost their lives in an explosion at the local shop and petrol station. A series of month's mind masses takes place in the coming days to remember those who lost their lives in the tragedy. Father John Joe Duffy says people in the area are still struggling.
It seems nowhere near like a month since we were there, and it just there's something I can't really put a word on it, but there is a numbness still there. There is just shock, and there is the question: did this really happen to us? And we're all too aware that it has happened, and the pain is there, and it's just difficult. It's very difficult.
A Donegal councillor says electric vehicle charging points are a basic necessity. Councillor Albert Doherty is calling for additional charging points to be put in place, particularly on the Inishowen Peninsula. His call comes as a survey published this morning by the Northern and Western Regional Assembly found 79% of people are unlikely to buy electric cars within the next 12 months, with range anxiety a major feature in that. Councillor Doherty says as electric vehicle sales potentially rise, it's vital that the infrastructure improves as well.
It's a basic necessity that vital infrastructure is put in place, first of all, to serve those who have been able to purchase vehicles, but also to be able to provide a significant improved service from what is there. With the council, I'm told that they have been in talks with a company. I believe we should have actions now to match the words that have promised new charging spots to be located in the peninsula.
A fire broke out at a planned accommodation centre for Ukrainian refugees in County Kildare last night. It happened at a shed on the grounds of a former equestrian centre in Kill just after 8 o'clock. Gardaí say a protest was held by a group of people outside the premises earlier in the day, but it passed off without incident. No injuries have been reported. The scene is being preserved for examination as Garda investigations continue. Bundoran Lifeboat is looking for new volunteers to take up roles as inshore lifeboat crew in the waters around Donegal Bay. Potential candidates will undertake training for over a year before being placed on call to attend alerts. The RNLI says it can't keep people safe without the support of volunteers who, it says, truly make a difference every day. Bundoran RNLI spokesperson Shane Smith says previous maritime experience isn't necessary.
We're looking for new people to join the existing complement of crew, and we're always looking to bring new people on to train them up and to make sure that they're able to do some saving lives at sea. It is a really great thing for people to do.
A yellow alert warning has been put in place for the rest of this week, with Met Éireann saying further spells of rain and showers may cause localised flooding due to waterlogged soils and high river levels. The warning comes into place at 4 this morning and remains in force until 11 on Friday night. And Met Éireann tell us today it will be mostly cloudy with spells of rain, as the warning says heavy at times with localised flooding possible. It'll become windier this afternoon and evening with strong gusty southerly winds. Top temperatures today 11 to 13 degrees Celsius, rain clearing later with showers following and winds easing. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
After organising a date with a handsome gentleman on her dating app, Sadie is out for a makeover to look something like her profile pic. And while she looked great, we wish she'd unplugged her hair straightener before leaving. Thankfully, Sadie also matched with a PhoneWatch Black Friday deal, offering an alarm that responds to break-ins and smoke in just 15 seconds for €39. So romance will be the only thing on fire in her life. Life is unpredictable. Don't be alarmed, be phone-watched. Offer ends November 30th. Visit phonewatch.ie. Monitoring fees apply.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union. 9102127. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. It's 4 minutes past 9. It's the start of another week on the 9 till noon show. It's Monday the 7th of November 2022. How are you keeping? I hope you're weekend went well for you, and hopefully now you're with us for the next 3 hours here in the show. We want you involved in the programme. We've plenty lined up for you, but we also want your views, your news, good or bad, by the way, positive or something you might need a bit of help with. 086 60 25,000, that's the familiar WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000. If you're watching or listening on your smart speaker, for instance, outside of Ireland, 0035386 60 25,000. And the telephone number is there for you too, 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. And of course, emails come in to us, comments at highlandradio.com. And you're very welcome. If you're watching the programme, feel free to comment there as well. If you want to, go onto our social media on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. Like and subscribe if you don't mind, it's useful. And also you can access us on our Facebook pages. Now, you heard the well-considered and important words from Father John Joe Duffy during the news there, because it is unbelievably 1 month on from the Creeslough tragedy. That's the front page of the Donegal News this morning. Today marks 1 month since the explosion at the Apple Green service station in Creeslough that claimed the lives of 10 people. 8 others were injured and 1 young man remains in hospital in Dublin. Speaking to the Donegal News, local GP Dr. Paul Stewart said initially the tragedy seemed unreal. Then we had the wakes, then the funerals. But with all that, we had lots of support, he said. And we'll be speaking to Father John Joe Duffy a little later on in the programme. The Derry News this morning, antisocial behaviour is being blamed for the closure of the Shantallow Library. The library will no longer open late on Tuesday evenings. In a requested statement to the Derry News, a librarian NI spokesperson said, in response to an increase in antisocial behaviour occurring during the library's late night opening hours on Tuesdays, we've temporarily changed the opening hours pattern. The library will close at 5:30pm instead of 8pm on a Tuesday, but will remain open for longer on Wednesdays. Are you one of those people who are suffering with long COVID? Perhaps you don't feel you have a voice. I could understand how you might feel like that. Many people who got COVID still continue to feel the after effects of it. And as I say, how often do you hear their voices? Let us know if it's your experience and how you're feeling and what kind of support you feel you're getting. You know the numbers there. But the Irish Independent talks of the true scale of long COVID in Ireland. It's been laid bare as a new study reveals today that almost 9 in 10 people living with the condition can suffer symptoms for up to a year or more after infection. And I would say there's many of you out there just not feeling like you used to. But perhaps are going undiagnosed. Well, this study involved 988 people who responded to an online questionnaire that looked at their quality of life and well-being and helped provide a snapshot of the toll that long COVID is taking. It found that more than 2 in 3 respondents who were infected with COVID reported continued fatigue, post-exertional malaise. I presume that means feeling tired after exercise. Palpitations, chest pain, stomach upsets, nausea, memory issues, muscle pain or joint pain. The study was carried out by APC Microbiome Ireland, based at University College Cork in conjunction with Cork University Hospital and Long COVID Advocacy Ireland. It's been published in the HRB Open Research. On to the Irish Times now, and there's quite a few jobs, it seems, maybe going in the tech sector. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar is to be briefed this week on the risk of Irish jobs being threatened by a tech reset. The great thing is, I suppose, that when tech's going good and you're seen as a popular destination, well, then you've got lots of jobs. But when they start cutting back, it does leave you exposed to big job losses, doesn't it? Well, it comes after last week saw job losses were signalled at the Dublin offices of Twitter, the social networking site, and payments firm Stripe, co-founded by Irish brothers John and Patrick Collision. IDA Ireland, as well as potentially Enterprise Ireland, are to brief Mr Varadkar, perhaps as early as today, on the potential impact of changes in the tech sector and how it might affect Irish foreign direct investment. A spokesperson for the IDA said it will meet with the Taoiseach to discuss latest developments within the tech sector. There's also talk of Meta, the parent company of Facebook, letting people go, and I think it employs something like, 6,000 or 7,000 people in Ireland. So again, we are very exposed if they decide to make those cuts here in this country. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and you might remember right at the very, very start of our response to the refugee crisis caused by the invasion of Ukraine, when hotels started and B&B started to be taken over. I think the first interview I did when a hotel in Letterkenny was being given over to house refugees was to ask, well, what about the impact? You might remember, what about the impact on the local newsagents, the local pubs, the local restaurants? I was kind of shut down for it a wee bit at the time. But logically, if people haven't got anywhere to stay, well, then it's going to have an impact, isn't it? Because you're not getting as many tourists into the area. You're not getting as many tourist euros, and they're not being spent in the wider economy. Well, Ireland's tourism towns, this is the Irish Daily Mail I think I mentioned, say they can't cope with another influx of Ukrainian refugees due to a chronic shortage of housing and risks to tourism as hotel beds are full. Hoteliers, community groups and local councils in Mayo, Kerry, Clare and elsewhere are now pleading with the government to formulate a plan to accommodate refugees while trying to protect tourism vital to the economy of many towns, particularly along the Wild Atlantic Way. The number of hotels and guest houses that house refugees has doubled since the start of last month as the government struggles to cope with thousands of people arriving from Ukraine. Not to mention, it's not just that. They also turfed out refugees in the likes of student accommodation. And there was only one place they could look to satisfy that need, and that was hotels. So far, we're told around 55,000 refugees have, let's go to page 6, have arrived here, with 6,000 securing their own accommodation. The flow of refugees is not expected to slow due to Russia's ongoing attacks in Ukraine, which left 4.5 million people without power last week. And the situation in Kyiv has got pretty desperate because they're suffering electricity and water outages. And the mayor of Kyiv, he has warned them to look at the possibility of evacuating the city if this persists. There's 3 or 4 million people in Kyiv. Not all are going to go to friends and relations sort of outside of the capital. They're going to look for refuge elsewhere, aren't they? So I would say there's probably another wave coming. Into the Irish Daily Star now, and supporters of the priest at the centre of the Gays Going to Hell controversy can listen to more of his sermons in the privacy of his own home. It has also emerged that Father Sean Sheehy held a prayer service in Tralee Town Square in County Kerry on Saturday and said he'll continue to celebrate Mass at his home to people who wish to listen to his sermons. Father Sheehy, who spent over 40 years in the United States, has been prevented from saying church Mass again after the Bishop of Kerry rebuked his controversial comments as unchristian. At least 30 parishioners walked out of the Mass after Father Sheehy condemned transgenderism, same-sex couples and supplying condoms to teenagers in his sermon. Father Sheehy told parishioners at St Mary's Church in Listowel that gay couples were sinful and criticised free contraception being provided by the HSE as promoting promiscuity. Now, all of his comments, there's nothing he said really truly that is outside the teachings of the church. He's just orated it at a Mass, but he's continuing to do it privately whilst the church in Ireland has they've taken his platform away from him. Are you a big fan of IKEA? This is in the Irish Sun. If you're Irish, if you're shopping in Ireland, you're being ripped off, really, or gouged, or whatever way. Maybe there's justifiable extra costs. But anyway, IKEA's fanatical Irish customers are paying almost 70% more for the exact same products as German counterparts. Hard-pressed shoppers who, on pandemic reopening day in 2021, made IKEA's Ballymun branch the highest performing of the group's 378 stores across 30 countries. They're being squeezed on a range of items from microwaves to sofas and candlestick holders. Economist Rory O'Farrell said companies will make money where they can, and if they see people in Ireland are willing to pay more for certain products, they'll charge more. But it's hard to see anything that would justify a 70% difference. So the price discrepancy, or the price extra price here, is because we're the mugs that are prepared to pay it, seemingly. Okie doke, let's go to the Irish Mirror finally. And nearly 4,500 publicly owned homes were vacant at the end of last year. It was revealed yesterday, and you all know them. I know many people. I was contacted by someone at the weekend, and actually it reminds me to get back to them, who are very much looking for accommodation. A council house. They know of a council house in their area. It's been lying vacant for a year. It doesn't make sense, but we see it in towns and villages right across the county. Well, 4,500 publicly owned homes across the country are vacant. Figures from the National Oversight and Audit Commission show 4,488 council properties from a total housing stock of 141,000 were empty. That vacancy rate was 3.2% unchanged from the previous year. It's also revealed the average time taken to re-let council homes has been falling since 2018 and averaged almost 8 months last year. The report showed vacancies in Longford and Galway exceeded 7%. Above average vacancy rates were also found in Cork County, 5.3%, Cavan at 4.7%, and Cork City at 4.4%. And I will find a Donegal figure for you there. It's not contained within the article, but we'll see if we can track one down. But as I say, we all know what's happening. It doesn't make any sense, does it? And certainly those houses, as part of housing for all, should be should be turned around and providing accommodation for people, shouldn't they? Right, let us take a first break as we get our first guest ready to chat to you.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
This December the 23rd, you could own a brand new car worth €30,000. What a wonderful automobile. Highland Radio is giving away a brand new Nissan Juke SUV worth €30,000. Someone, and it could be you, will get a call from Greg Hughes on the 9 to noon show on December the 23rd. You just won a car. Yes, steady on, that could be you. If you've got the lucky ticket, simply go to highlandradio.com, click on the car link, answer an easy question and buy a ticket for €10, 6 for €50 or 10 for €80. Highland Radio's great car giveaway. Surprise, surprise! Get your ticket now.
There's always a buzz in Dublin, but there's something extra special about Dublin at winter time. Experience a whole lot of live entertainment this November. From buskers and bands to theatre and musicals. Enjoy comedy gigs, concerts, and even music trails. It's time to make some noise. It's time to make some plans. Make your plans today at visitdublin.com. Winter in Dublin. It's magic. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold this winter and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
The Private Security Authority is the government body responsible for regulating the private security industry. Every day, licensed security services protect billions of euros worth of goods and ensure the safety and security of thousands of people and businesses. When choosing a security service for your home or business, choose one licensed by the Private Security Authority. If you choose an unlicensed security provider, you could face prosecution. Visit psa-gov.ie for more information and a list of licensed security services.
Okay, we're joined on the programme now by Independent Deputy Thomas Pringle. Thomas, thanks for joining us. Good morning to you.
Morning, Greg. How's it going?
Good. Now, we're talking about the issue of the pandemic recognition payment. And I think those who were never entitled to it would presume probably that it's all done and dusted, it's all been sorted, because we've been talking about this for ages. Sadly, that's not the case. Just a brief outline. This was a one-off payment, wasn't it, to recognise people's efforts during the pandemic?
Yeah, it was supposed to recognise frontline workers during the pandemic. It was a payment of €1,000 was to be made from the state in recognition of the work that they put in, which I think was well deserved, and that as well. Because people did go above and beyond, and it wasn't only HSE staff or health staff. It was people working in the nursing home sector and stuff like that as well, and that should be recognised, all right,
Yeah. Right. So who hasn't received it yet, as far as we're aware?
Yeah, well, as far as we're aware now, according to PQ replies, and I would be getting a number of reps in relation to people who worked in private nursing homes and people. There is a number of staff who are in what are called Section 38 organisations, which are basically organisations that are funded by the government and by the Department of Health, but aren't HSE employees. And then also as well, there is a number of other staff as well then who would be non-Section 38 rate agreement staff, which would be people working in private nursing homes, people working in long-term, what they call Section 39 residential care facilities, which are basically non-HSE staff as well, and then home help workers and stuff like that there who wouldn't be, what they're saying, that maybe not contract, maybe aren't HSE direct employees, but would be working by in the private sector as well. But it seems that over the weekend there are some HSE workers as well that haven't received a payment, and that certainly is news to me. And in terms of what is actually happening within what the department is saying as well, they're saying that all HSE staff have been paid. Now, it's possible that there is agency workers working for in HSE establishments that wouldn't be directly employed by the HSE, which is a problem in itself, I believe. But I think that maybe they are some of the workers that haven't got the payment as yet either.
Yeah, so I mean, it's clear from your outlining how complex an issue it is. But who's taken? Well, it must be. Oh, there must be another reason. But anyway, you can counteract that assessment of it. But who's taking control of this? Is it being organised nationally, locally, regionally? You know, I mean, if someone listening to this hasn't received the payment, is it clear who they might contact to find out what the story is?
Well, it seems like I was just drawing back over questions that had been asked previously in relation to this and that, and I haven't actually got to the bottom of that as yet. But it seems that the Department of Health has set the parameters as to who is actually who is entitled to a payment and who should get a payment, and that the HSE then are administering it on behalf of the Department of Health. So the HSE are the people who are in the know. They seem to have kicked the touch in relation to it and saying that they have to get a private sector help to actually help them pay this system.
But they did that. That's going back 6 weeks, 2 months ago. That they paid
it
extra.
It seems that they haven't even started work yet.
Right, okay.
And apparently under contracted arrangements and stuff like that, they have to give a certain length of time after the contract's awarded before they can start work, which it should be now anyway. It seems to me like, I mean, that they basically want to tide it over into a new year, a new financial year, and that it won't put the deficit too high this year, so therefore in the next financial year it won't look as bad. That seems to be what they're trying to do at this stage. I mean, I find it hard to believe that the HSE needs outside help to actually do this. I mean, there are people who are working in the health services. Indeed, from an email I got over the weekend, there's actually people working in Letterkenny Hospital who seem to be included in this. Now, I'm just assuming that they're probably agency staff working in the HSE. Surely the HSE would know who.
Well, listen, let's put it out there. I know some of them will be working, some of them may not. Have you not received this payment? And what's your status within the organisation? How are you employed? Obviously, in full confidentiality, but just to help give us a better understanding. It'd be interesting to see too how much it's going to cost to pay this external company, which hasn't done anything yet to actually do this as well. And I think you stated it there yourself. What are they doing that the HSE themselves can't do?
Yeah, I mean, the HSE, well, the government, maybe not the HSE, but the government paid all the private sector employers the payments as well during the COVID and stuff like that. So surely that information is there. It's a matter of collating it. And surely it should have been done since the beginning of the year. Like, why did we have to wait until September, October to actually say, oh, hold on a minute here, we need an outside consultant to be able to tell us how we can do this or identify these people. Like, I mean, it makes a mockery of the whole payment thing. And people who work in the private sector and work for non-HSE roles did a huge amount as well to make sure that people got through the crisis and that, and they should be recognised. And the good and the payment is gone at this stage, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in an industry where there's quite a high level of low morale as is, you know. Yeah. So anything you can have that might lift your spirits, especially at this time, because the people we're talking of are facing all the same financial pressures everybody else is. They're looking at how they're going to fuel their homes for the winter. They're looking at how they're going to organise and pay for Christmas. Do you know what I mean? And €1,000 would be maybe the difference between them being able to do that and not.
Yeah, it'd be huge for those people because, I mean, sadly as well, most of these people are in the lowest paying jobs as well too, probably working for minimum wage as things stand at the moment, because it's not a sector that we recognise significantly in terms of the work that they do, which it should be. I think the whole COVID situation, stuff like that, showed the importance of the work that these people do, and that we need as a society to really prioritise where we see the importance of work is, actually, as well. I think that's very important.
All right, okay. Listen, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it. We'll see. Actually, by the way, completely separate. We'll be speaking about Twitter later on. Just curious, as someone with a blue tick on Twitter, are you going to be paying Elon Musk €8 a month to keep it?
I actually didn't know. I wasn't sure I had a blue tick to say the truth, Greg. But I just heard about that over the weekend. And
I think it's putting a lot of politicians in an awkward place, because this is a person that's going in there, sacking staff, almost a social media dictatorship, and then politicians, if you want to be heard, you're going to have to give him €8 a month.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem, all right. Like I see something on Twitter about this new Mastodon something site as well now, which people seem to be changing over to. So maybe I'm going to have to look at that and see. And Twitter is a useful tool, but I don't know if it's useful paying a tool like Elon Musk to use it as well.
I've been described as the same myself. All right, then. Listen, thanks very much for your time.
I'll pay to you instead.
All right, thank you. That is, oh no, I meant useless. That's the words have been attributed to my useless tool. All right, 086 60 25,000 WhatsApp and text 086 60 25,000, or call us 074 91 25,000. As I say, we'll be discussing the Twitter takeover a little later on in the programme. Father John Joe Duffy, on a much more serious note, will be joining us 1 month on from the awful tragedy that we all still feel so greatly. And if that's something that you've been affected by, if you have any questions or anything that you need to highlight, get in contact with us. I do know there is still a little bit of concern out there with some people who've been directly affected by this crisis, this awful tragedy, that probably still need help but haven't got it. But that's something I'll work at off air. But if there's something that you want to say to us, 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts, or call us on 074 91 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your Ulster Bank loan or overdraft? We are now offering competitive low-rate switcher loans and MyCU current account with overdraft. Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. Tune in this Tuesday to the Community Garda information slot, on air after 10 a.m. on the 9 till noon show in association with Sheridan Security Systems. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91 26025.
In this week's RTE Guide, cover star Catherine Fulvio on slowing down and learning to be less critical. Dermot Kennedy on how self-belief led him to sell out stadiums. Plus, we unwrap the best seasonal cookery tips in our free Christmas recipe collection. Everything and more. RTE Guide, on sale now.
Paul agreed to bring his elderly neighbour shopping without realising she's such a devout middle aisle shopper. He now has to make space for his neighbour, a TV and a gazebo. Thankfully, Paul's new Citroen C5 Aircross SUV offers best-in-class boot space, 3 flat-folding individual rear seats, and all with advanced comfort technology. Comfy neighbours guaranteed. The new Citroen C5 Aircross SUV, as generous as you are.
Visit the Citroen Open Weekend this Thursday, Friday and Saturday at Highland Motors, Mountain Top, Letterkenny.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney and Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order, and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing or voluntary transfer. Call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Now, whether you're on Twitter or not, the fact remains that it is a hugely influential platform, and it's now under the stewardship of the world's richest man. Elon Musk paid €44 billion for the platform. We tried to get out of the deal, but was threatened with legal action and then proceeded to make the purchase, and he's promised great changes. He says comedy's back on Twitter. It's legal again now, although he's banning people for that for what some might deem to be economy. He's talking about it being free speech. But that will come at a cost, €8 or $8. I presume it will be around about €8 or €9 here when it comes to pass. And there's an awful lot happening in the world of tech at the moment. So no better person to speak to than Adrian Weckler, who is technology editor at the Irish and Sunday Independent. Good morning, Adrian. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning.
It's kind of a strange one, this Twitter, for anyone who's interested in it, because you can see it unfold before your very eyes. Elon Musk's never off the platform, and he seems to be making decisions and making changes on the hoof. One tweet at midnight, another at 8 minutes past midnight, and another policy he's put in. It's almost as if he made up this next part of his strategy at 4 minutes past 12. So what's your assessment of what's going on with Twitter?
I mean, that's quite a correct assessment. I think you've just made. He's living the dream of the old Facebook adage of move fast and break things. He is making things up on the hoof. Now, his defenders will say that's one of the reasons he gets things done, and he innovates quickly and doesn't take ages to make decisions. And one of the criticisms you could make about Twitter in the last few years is that, especially when it comes to new products and features, it's really, really slow at rolling things out. Certainly, commercially, that has affected the company. It's nowhere near the size of what were once rivals like Twitter or even things like Snapchat. Even local companies we regard as local as Stripe are bigger than Twitter. So he has his defenders, but I mean the pace at which he kind of makes sort of policy on the hoof is kind of incredible. If you take the job cuts as an example, he's getting rid of half of the staff, possibly up to half of the Irish staff as well, over 500 people in Dublin. But they just sort of waved a wand to make them go, like Thanos in the Avengers. And now they're having to hire some of them back because the cuts were too deep. Like they cut, for example, the infrastructure team, cloud storage and servers. They're doing that a couple of days before the US midterm elections. They've cut curation teams responsible for creating the legitimate information guides alongside kind of topics with high risk of misinformation, human rights team, transparency teams, and the trust and safety team, the people who we think of as being responsible for making Twitter a slightly more civilized and slightly less toxic place. So yeah, on the hoof is a good way of describing it.
But he's kind of like even just down to how could you really criticize the richest man in the world in terms of business decisions? But presumably they can all make mistakes. But what he's trying to create seems impossible to me. In other words, a free speech space, right? But also one that conforms to even just guidelines in any given country. How do you square that circle? Talking of free speech, but as I say, charging €8 for it, he's admitted himself that unless you pay your $8 per month, your views will be suppressed. So in other words, I can pay $8, right, and waffle till my heart's content and people will see it. But arguably, we could have a very senior politician in this country who won't pay the €8, and then their opinions would actually be suppressed. They would be pushed down in amongst the spam and the bots and the trolls. And then if I'm a new user, right, and I don't want to pay, how do I experience what I have to pay $8 for? Because I would be in and amongst the spam and the bots. I just, from a business perspective, I don't see how he moves forward from this. I think in a week or two, he's going to go back to having to verify with your ID who you are. He has to.
I think you're probably right. If you take the €8 per month proposed charge for Twitter Blue, by the way, Twitter Blue isn't available yet in Ireland. I'm presuming it will be. It's the US, Australia, the UK, New Zealand, one or two other countries. But to take your point, if, say, for example, I'm verified. I have a blue check mark. There are over 400,000 people who are, but the whole purpose of that was not some sort of golden circle. The idea was that in the very big moments in the world, which is what defines Twitter, that's often where you go to see exactly what has happened at the cutting edge, from the horse's mouth, from people in the news and making the news, or who are right beside it reporting the news. Now, if you want to, like, I'm not going to pay €8 for a blue check mark. I'm just not going to pay out of principle. Fine. So that means I'll be relegated to say less prominent replies, or it'll be harder maybe for somebody to see what I'm reporting on the Twitter job losses.
You will be
you
will be actively suppressed. He said that. It's not that you will
Yeah.
fall off the. You will
Yeah.
actually be pushed to the bottom.
Yeah.
But
now-
I can pay €8, right?
Mhm.
And I can call myself Adrian Weckler, and I can
Mhm.
put in technology editor at the Irish and Sunday Independent and purport to be you. And then you can say, oh,
Well-
but parody counts are banned, right? But because I don't have to verify who I am with any ID, and you don't, right? There is actually really, if you think about it, there's no way for to determine who out of the two of us is the parody.
Well, that argument was made, and he has responded to that just in the last few hours. He has gone on Twitter, I'm talking about Elon Musk, to say that anyone who impersonates anyone else will have their...
But there's no way to determine that, Adrian, because you're unverified, okay?
Yeah.
And your
Yeah.
ID's off file, you're wiped, right? I'm
Mhm.
Adrian Weckler. I'm paying €8 a month for the blue check, right? There is no
Well,
way.
the-
There's no way. There's no way to determine whether it's you parodying me or me parodying you, because there is no evidence on file to determine who's actually the Adrian Weckler.
Well, presumably there is and there will be a process of that. The problem here is that they're cutting so much staff and they're cutting so many teams that for me to try to persuade them that I'm me and that you're not me could take weeks or
Well, it
months,
would cost
and
you
I might just get bored.
it would. Well, firstly, without paying the €8 per month, you wouldn't have a leg to stand on, and therein is the rub.
Yeah, well, see, now here's the thing, though. If your scenario plays out, or if any version of your scenario plays out, then Twitter becomes a place that ordinary users will use less. Because if you think about it, Twitter isn't actually that big. There's probably about 1.5 million people in Ireland that occasionally use it, and probably a couple of 100,000 people that use it all the time. Now, take that couple of 100,000 people. If they see you checkmarked as me, and if that's replicated hundreds or thousands of times, they're just going to stop using it. They're going to use it less. Now, that's fine, and first world problem and all the rest of it. But from Elon Musk's point of view, that's terrible, because the whole reason that people use Twitter is for that idea of being close to what's happening in the moment. If you have less confidence that the person that you're following or whose tweet you see is actually authentic, then why would you be on Twitter and not Facebook or Instagram or Reddit? Or there's no real reason. I mean, from a perfectly naked, self-interested point of view, from the old traditional media point of view, it's actually not that bad. Because if Elon Musk weakens Twitter as an authentic news source, it actually strengthens us quite a bit. So if he wants to go ahead and do that, go ahead.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think he'll have to reverse that or moderate it.
He has to, unless he wants to give up on advertisers altogether.
Yes.
Now,
Now,
because
to be fair, and and it's not something I've said about Elon Musk in the last 2 weeks, but to be fair, many of the big advertisers that are currently boycotting Twitter are car manufacturers. And, Elon Musk obviously is the CEO of Tesla. So there might be an additional dimension to them boycotting Twitter, to Audi and General Motors, for example, pausing their advertising on Twitter. But look, that's Elon's problem. Like, this is you got to put on his big boy britches. It's a grown-ups world now, and he's playing in the big leagues, and there's no point whining and complaining and playing the victim and saying that advertisers are pausing when you're the one who bought it. You broke it, you bought it. And the problem is he paid way too much for it. And now the chickens are coming home to roost in terms of how to make money out of it.
Yeah, and in fairness, 25% of those Twitter job losses were already on the card, seemingly, and we are seeing other firms like Stripe, Meta, Facebook's parent company, talking about a major round of job cuts in the coming days. I mean, obviously, great sympathy for anyone losing their jobs. What is the potential impact here on Ireland? In the first instance, these people's livelihoods, but also us in this space of, we're this great place for you to locate TikTok and Twitter and Facebook, to locate your staff here. It's a really good spot. What could be the impacts of all of this, I wonder?
Well, I don't think that anyone believes that Ireland or Dublin's place in the tech ecosystem in a wider sense is under threat, because the conditions that largely have brought them here are still largely here. And as you say, it's an industry-wide thing with the layoffs. So Dublin or Ireland isn't any worse than anywhere else. But two observations. Number one, it is a wave. And it's not just the tech multinationals. It's in big indigenous Irish tech firms as well. Like three of Ireland's 6 unicorn firms. A unicorn tech firm is a private firm that's worth over €1 billion. 3 of them, half of them, have announced job losses in the last few months. So it's not just multinationals. But the wider issue, and this is point number 2, money for social welfare in hospitals and schools, corporate tax receipts. So last week, the Irish government announced a bumper additional €6 billion in corporate tax receipts, ahead of what they were expecting. But it almost all came from multinational profits, particularly the tech giants. Of the 16 billion that we've taken so far this year in corporation tax, about half of it have come from a dozen multinational firms. Now, if those companies are in trouble and if they're making less money, we can sort of sympathize with the workers, or, some people will say, oh, well, they were getting too big for their britches, or whatever the response is. At the end of the day, that's billions of euro less for roads, schools, hospitals, social welfare, pensions, So that is the worry.
Yeah, all right. Interesting times ahead for anyone with an interest in tech. And Adrian Weckler is the technology editor at the Irish and Sunday Independent, so he'll keep you right across it. Thanks for your time, Adrian.
Thanks a million.
All right, take care of yourself. 086 60 25,000, of course, on the wider scale of things. This isn't the most important, but for some it's interesting. Topics with high risk of it: misinformation. In whose opinion is misinformation versus important information deciphered? Well, they have the Birdwatch team, apparently, and it's a group of, it's a hive mind that comes up with the decisions. So him not paying the €8 makes him like us, and that's bad. He has no more privilege than anyone else. His opinion is no more important. Well, if you're interested in someone with technology news, right, would you prefer to get it from someone like me, who's not a technology expert, or someone like Adrian, who is? Now, you can view his stuff and determine for yourself if it suits you, but how would you determine who's the expert? I suppose that's part of the verification process. Will we have the same upset now? Facebook is sacking staff. I doubt it. Mr. Pringle can well pay €8 to put his lefty views out there, won't he? Put it on his expenses. Right, okay. 086 60 25,000, your WhatsApps and text that number.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
If you're about to use an electrical appliance, like your washing machine, which uses a lot of energy, just ask the question, is this a good time?
Yeah, it's fairly breezy out. You're good to go.
If it's windy out, it is a good time, because wind generates renewable energy, which Ireland will be relying on more and more. For customised advice, tips and helpful information, such as finding out the best times to use electrical appliances like your washing machine, sign up to our pilot at esbnetworks.ie/pilot.
businesses. Order your gift vouchers for Christmas now from BizPrint the printers. Also personalised calendars, Christmas cards, diaries, draw tickets and much more at great prices from BizPrint, Port Road, Letterkenny. See bizprint.ie.
Dunstore's Double Savers gives you new ways to shrink your bill. Save in the aisles with half price on selected 330ml soft drink multi-packs like 7up and Pepsi Max. Then start your day right with selected breakfast cereals like Kellogg's Bran Flakes and Nestle Cheerios. Also half price. Then save again at the till with our 5 off 25 grocery vouchers. Shrink your bill with Double Savers. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Love swimming? Love it with a level head. Learn about weather, tides and rip currents. Be visible with a brightly coloured hat and tow float. Swim parallel to shore and never alone. Afterwards, get warm quickly. This is Water Safety Ireland. Better safe than sorry. For open water swimming advice, visit watersafety.ie. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Hello, Hill 16 Insurance. How can I help you? Up the dubs.
Hi. I am looking for a home insurance quote.
Righto, and what part of Dublin do you live in?
I don't actually live in Dublin.
Right. Do you at least support the dubs?
What? I'm just looking for home insurance.
Well, you're gonna have to keep looking, pal, because Hill 16 is Dublin only.
Do you get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want you? Well, at Local Insurance, we are Irish owned and understand your needs. Call us today for a bespoke quote on 0818 894 444. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Candles, lanterns, Christmas trees, decorations and all types of lights. Everything you need for Christmas. Experience the magic of Christmas at Cooney's. Our biggest and best Christmas shop has outstanding value on lights and trees. There really is something for everyone at Cooney's Letterkenny Retail Park.
Now our next guest is Councillor Michael McBride. Good morning to you, Councillor. Thanks for taking the call.
Good morning, Greg. You're very welcome.
Right, now you're calling for a review of the flow of traffic in Letterkenny just as we come into Christmas, I suppose. Hopefully, loads and loads of people will be shopping local in their own towns and villages or heading into Letterkenny. What is the problem at the moment do you think needs addressing?
Well, I suppose, Greg, traffic congestion in Letterkenny has been an ongoing issue, you know, and it's definitely the number one issue that's been raised by business people and members of the public to myself as a county councillor. And I believe that other county councillors are dealing with a high volume of complaints as well. I suppose a number of months ago, we had some new traffic lights and pedestrian crossings were added around town, some on the Railway Road, other ones out on the Neil T. Blaney Road and the junction of the new Joe Boner Road. And a long tailback started to develop. You know, that was tailback in there from the Pierce Road right back round to the business park. At the time, I raised them concerns with Donegal County Council and I asked them to have the traffic lights recalibrated, but it didn't sort out the problem. So on Friday last, we had a meeting with the TIA, the Chamber of Commerce, and representatives from the contractors on the 4-lane Foxes to discuss the traffic flow. And Donegal County Council has let us know that at that meeting that there is a number of issues that they've identified, and they're going to start, go and do some work at them, and hopefully it'll help the traffic flow now on the run into Christmas.
Yeah,
because
there's a public relations element to this, which I think it's important that the powers that be get. In other words, if Letterkenny has a reputation of being difficult to get into and to get out of, people will stop going there. Now, if things are improved and it's not as bad as it may have been, well, it's very important to get that message out there as well so that people go, all right, so things are improved, I'll go into Letterkenny and I'll spend my money. So there's a engineering element to this, but I'd also strongly argue there's a public relations element to this. And it's not always down to the businesses, I think, to advertise and say, come into us. I think there's an overarching responsibility from the likes of the council to say we've improved things in terms of traffic, or an actual campaign to say, come into Letterkenny and shop, spend some of those commercial rates to benefit the commercial community in that town and other towns as well. But there is a real PR thing that I don't think is done in an overarching way that should be done for businesses.
Totally agree with you, Greg. That was discussed at length at our meeting last Friday. The county councillors were very strong on it, to get the message out that Letterkenny is open for businesses. A lot of these businesses do maybe between 30 and 40% of their annual turnover in maybe about a 6-week period there. So it's just imperative that we get this right. And if we do get it out in the public domain that Letterkenny is open for business, and I think it's important that we support all our local traders at this time of year.
Are there solutions to the traffic issues at the moment? Can things be tweaked to make the flow of traffic, particularly at the peak times, better?
Well, Greg, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I've raised the question, on behalf of the people who are making representations to me. I've had taxi drivers come to me, I've had business people come to me, the people that are driving instructors. So it seems to be affecting a lot of people, and we see the tailbacks around the town ourselves, like whenever we're working on it. So the council has identified, a few issues there, the road section that they're going to deal with, and hopefully it will help out. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. We'll wait and see when they tweak it to see what way it will work, and if it doesn't, we'll have to get back at it again and try and figure out what way we're going to keep the traffic flowing. The 2 lanes in, 2 lanes out, and the 4 lane will be open in the run up to Christmas. So it's a big problem, but we have to make sure that we get this one right.
Yeah, and you've already pointed it out here. This is people's livelihoods here that need to be protected as well, especially in difficult trading times.
Absolutely. As they say, so many traders depend on the Christmas period. For the for a big chunk of the turnover for the year. It's also important for all the staff that work on them, that the businesses are sustainable. We as a county council depend on them people for rates, so if we can deliver other projects around the county. So the whole thing's all interlinked, and I think it's extremely important that we support all the business people that we've got in the town of Letterkenny over the next number of months in particular.
Yeah, Caller says the only problem area in their view in Letterkenny is the ATU. The traffic lights there are constantly red, especially when the students are crossing the road. Like, what I don't understand, and I'm sure you'd have to also come up with a solution for those with mobility issues. Like, that would have been a perfect candidate, would it not, for a bridge over the road? An important artery into the town, yet having lights constantly stopping traffic there and instantly backing it up to the roundabout and beyond. Like, why don't we have footbridges, I wonder, in Donegal?
I brought this up in the past myself, Greg. I see them in other towns. I think in the new bypass around Tuam, they've got a bridge across it very close to the roundabout. It looks like a really good job. I think Derry maybe does that quite well too, putting bridges across. I don't see any reason why we can't do it. And I've brought that up at meetings before myself about putting bridges across, even across the Port Road, where the children are going to cross there. But the TAA are putting in, crossings with lights on them.
Like choking the town when you can literally have one set of traffic, the pedestrian traffic, walking over the top of the relatively free moving vehicular traffic.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And, as we move on and keep developing the town, there's things that we probably need to look at, but it's not going to happen between now and Christmas, and we have to try and get it as good as we can possibly have it for the Christmas shopping season.
Thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself. That is Councillor Michael McBride there. If you a view on that, 086 60 25,000. A caller says, I'm volunteering with the Tidy Towns. Could the idiots, as they describe them, stop putting graffiti on the wall around the town? That comes in from John. I don't know what type of graffiti it is or which town. I presume is it Letterkenny. Normally if there's no word in front of the word town, it means it's Letterkenny. Right, Greg, I was wondering, could you put it out there and inquire as to the situation regarding the motorised transport grant, which was discontinued in 2013 with a promise of a new system from the then government, and nothing to this day. Quite laughable if it wasn't so serious for some. Can Michael McBride find out when the road from Illustrator to Mountain Top is going to get a lick of tar? Was in a shown last month, and roads there are far better quality. Why? You don't hear that too often, do you? Okay. Traffic is horrendous. Smart lights at McGinley's and Neil T. Blaney Road and LYIT going red when no traffic is waiting to enter the road. Why is this? Maybe someone's pushing the button on the way past. I don't know. People begin to realise what was going on and how dishonest the governments had been. All of a sudden, the €1,000 appeared and everyone at a party and forgot all about having been held under effective house arrest under fraudulent claims of emergency. Forget the €1,000 and start talking about what actually went on. Some people still plugging away at that one. And there's still people, so-called intelligent people, that say COVID doesn't exist and blame the vaccines for all the problems. Uplifting performance by our rugby team on Saturday, beating world champion South Africa in the Aviva. Hopefully they haven't peaked a year too soon ahead of next year's World Cup in France. Great to have the RFU acknowledge the role of Donegal Master Chef Maurice McGeehan, Fintown, in helping their preparation to reach high performance levels. Wonder what he's cooking for them. I don't know, but I'll have a plate of whatever he's making. That priest is right in what he says about homosexuality. It says that in the Bible. Another caller says, and I think we're going to be speaking about this a little later on, I would like your experiences. They say we need a big cull of deer. They're causing too many accidents. 2-car collision on Ardra Glenties Road Saturday night as a deer jumped out, caused 2 cars to collide. Also, they're very bad for the spread of TB in cattle. As a lot of cases of TB in the county, they say. And as I say, it's something we're going to be talking about later on the programme. Is there something that needs to be done with Donegal's deer population? 086 60 25,000. We'd really appreciate your input on that subject as well. Would anyone be able to tell me where in Letterkenny to drop in the Christmas shoe boxes? Thank you. Right, so there's Margaret wants to know. Where would you be able to drop in Christmas shoe boxes? And a quick mention here. There's a couple of things going on here at Highland Radio at the moment, but we are looking to bring someone home for Christmas, someone home from Britain or Europe for Christmas, and we want you to nominate them. Someone in your family or a friend or a loved one that you haven't seen for ages, can't get home for Christmas. Of course, things are a little tight at the moment, but we want to fly them home, get them from whichever airport they land into up to Donegal so you can spend time with them. If you would like to nominate someone to bring them home for Christmas, all you have to do is send your details and theirs and the reason why to homeforchristmas@highlandradio.com. Now, maybe you're listening to us abroad and you wanted to come home for Christmas, but because of the finances that you can't at the moment, or for a reason like that, maybe you and your family, we can take you home. So give us your name and why we should take you home, and email it again to homeforchristmas@highlandradio.com, and then we'll try and work some Highland Radio Christmas magic. There are terms and conditions. For more, visit our website highlandradio.com and find competition terms and conditions. But there's no reason why not to enter that. Right, so that's homeforchristmas@highlandradio.com. That's the email address. Okay, you're tuned to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. Coming up in the next couple of hours, we have lots to keep you informed and entertained. Keep us busy on those phone lines and the text machine. Your comments really important to the flow of the show. But we're going to take a break now, and then we'll be back with the... we'll take a break now for the news and obituary notices, and then we'll be back with much more thereafter.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your Ulster Bank loan or overdraft? We are now offering competitive low-rate switcher loans and MyCU current account with overdraft. Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
In 2018, Toyota cut through the confusion, completely ceasing production of diesel passenger cars, lowering harmful emissions and providing certainty for Irish drivers everywhere. And Kelly's Toyota are proud to be part of that hybrid electric journey. Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles today to see what makes Toyota Ireland's best-selling car brand in 2021 and 2022. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world. Best-selling claim based on most recent monthly figures.
Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Women's clothing from your favourite sports brands. Nike, Under Armour and Adidas. Nike Performance quarter zips, tees and vests with matching Nike Pro shorts and tights. Nike Yoga range just arrived. Tees, bra tops and tights, offering you support during your workout. New jackets, hoodies and tights. Join our Christmas club by opening an account today at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
If you're tired and struggling to put a spring in your step, discover the power of Revive Active at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. Revive Active is an award-winning super supplement containing 26 active ingredients, including vitamin C, D and zinc, which support your immune system, all in one handy daily sachet. Made for busy, stressful lives, it's the convenient way to put back what life takes out. Enrich your life with the Revive Active. In-store or online, click and collect from brennanspharmacy.com. We're here for you.
Massive stock clearance promotion now on at Hegarty's Home Interiors, Buncrana. See the best selection of sofas, beds and sliding robes, all at unbeatable prices with free delivery included. Our best sale items include 4'6" bed set, mattress base and headboard was €499, now €379 for the lot. Get an extra €100 off any recliner suite, electric or manual. See the best selection and the best priced sliding robes in Ireland, with lots more offers throughout the store. Hegarty's Home Interiors, Buncrana. Great furniture, always better prices.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The parish priest of Creeslough says last month's tragedy is still very raw for locals. Today marks exactly 1 month since 10 people lost their lives in an explosion at the village shop and petrol station. Garda investigations into the cause of the blast are continuing. The scene is still preserved and the main road through the village remains closed. Father John Joe Duffy says there is still a sense of numbness in Creeslough and its environs.
I suppose the reality of what we're trying to do as a community is to try and cope with the terrible loss that we are experiencing in this community, the terrible tragedy, the darkest and the saddest tragedy that this community has ever faced, and it is very raw.
The Cathaoirleach of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District is calling for the local improvement scheme model to be reviewed. Councillor Donal Mandy Kelly says the scheme in its current form is a disaster because of the lack of money made available for people seeking funding. He believes the LIS model should be abolished and a grant-based approach taken in its stead.
That's a disaster. It doesn't work. What's in front of us the minute, the amount of funding that's coming for LIS, it's not feasible. I myself am inundated with calls, like every other councillor, regarding LASs, and everyone that rings me regarding a lane, they're looking to get their LAS application through and get their lane done. They're all ringing because their lanes is not in good shape, but the funding we're getting at the minute to address these issues is not adequate.
Tech companies are branding job losses in the industry as a correction because of the fact that they overhired, according to an expert. Meta, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook, reportedly is set to cut thousands of jobs this week, some of them in Ireland. It comes as Twitter announced it'll be cutting half its workforce in the past number of days. Tánaiste Leo Varadkar is expected to discuss the Irish situation in a meeting with the IDA later this week. The editor of Silicon Republic, Elaine Burke, says Meta is a prime example of a company that had forecast continued growth.
The amount of scale and investment being pumped into tech over the last number of years, even through a global pandemic and even through the economic crises that we're currently involved in. And if you look at Meta's figures in particular, that growth, those 87,300 employees, that's 28% growth year on year just this year. So that's a huge number of people to be taking on. And a lot of the CEOs are coming out with statements when they're announcing these job losses saying that this is a correction.
A Donegal councillor says electric vehicle charging points are a basic necessity. Councillor Albert Doherty is calling for additional charge points to be put in place, particularly in the Inishowen Peninsula. He says as the potential for increased electric vehicle sales is there, it's vital that the infrastructure improve.
It's a basic necessity that vital infrastructure is put in place, first of all, to serve those who have been able to purchase vehicles, but also to be able to provide a significant improved service from what is there. With the council, I'm told that they have been in talks with a company. I believe we should have actions now to match the words that have promised new charging spots to be located in the peninsula.
The call comes as a survey published this morning by the Northern and Western Regional Assembly found 79% of people are unlikely to buy electric cars within the next 12 months. Largely because of the lack of charging points. The Assembly's chief economist is John Daly.
There should be 2 publicly available EV charge points in every town and village in the northwest, and that is the level that residents feel is needed in order to reduce the challenges in terms of range anxiety, but also to encourage the uptake of EVs.
Bundoran Lifeboat is looking for new volunteers to take up roles as inshore lifeboat crew in the waters around Donegal Bay. Potential candidates will undertake training for over a year before being placed on call to attend alerts. The RNLI says it can't keep people safe without the support of volunteers. Bundoran RNLI spokesperson Shane Smith says previous maritime experience isn't necessary.
The training does start from scratch. I myself am a volunteer. I have no maritime background, and a major percentage of the crews right across the lifeboat stations in the UK and Ireland do not have any kind of maritime background. Obviously it helps, but it's absolutely not a prerequisite. You won't carry a pager until you're well into a year or two down the road, and that you're able to go on shouts. It's quite the build-up of training before you're able to get on the boat in the first place.
More on rnli.org or on the Bundoran RNLI's own social media pages. A yellow weather warning has been put in place for the rest of this week, with Met Éireann saying further spells of rain and showers will cause localised flooding due to waterlogged soil and high river levels. That warning in place until 11 on Friday night, and indeed today will be mostly cloudy with spells of rain, heavy at times with localised flooding possible. It'll become windier this afternoon and evening, strong gusty southerly winds in highest temperatures today of 11 to 13 degrees Celsius, rain clearing later with showers following and winds easing. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices for this Monday morning, the 7th of November. The death has taken place of Maureen Melly, née McCrory, formerly of Orchard Street, Strabane, reposing at Quigley's funeral home tomorrow morning from 9, with removal at 9:30 to the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane, for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in Strabane Cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to Belmont Manor Residents Comfort Fund, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Brian Cairns, 11 Dunowen Park, Clady. Brian's remains are reposing at his late home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:15 for Requiem Mass at 12 noon in St Columba's Church, Dunnyloop, with interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The death has taken place of Patricia Doherty, O'Regan, New Road, Carndonagh. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House private, please, before the funeral tomorrow, with family time from 10 o'clock tonight. Family flowers only, please, donations in lieu if desired, to Carndonagh Community Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Danny Dan Bennis, 32, Willowbrook, Glencar, Letterkenny. Danny's remains will repose at Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, from 5:30 to 7 o'clock this evening, with removal to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Letterkenny, to repose overnight. Requiem Mass there tomorrow morning at 11, with private cremation to take place later. The Requiem Mass can be viewed online via the Church of the Irish Martyrs YouTube page. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Society of St Vincent de Paul, care of any family member. The house is private, please. The death has taken place of Hugh Doherty, Clark, 22, Ashbrook, Letterkenny, and formerly of Desertegny, Buncrana. Hugh's remains will repose at Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, from 3:30 until 4:30 this afternoon, followed by removal to Star of the Sea Church, Desertegny, arriving at approximately 5:45 to repose overnight. Requiem Mass there tomorrow morning at 11, with interment afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. The death has taken place of Liam Collins, formerly of Ard O'Donnell, and Rosemount, Letterkenny, reposing at his daughter Donna's residence, 45 Glendale Manor, Glencar, Letterkenny. Funeral from there this morning to St Eunan's Cathedral for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed online at churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in Leck Cemetery. Family time, please, before the funeral. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to ICU, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Eddie Kelly, Glentuskert, Glengad Mallon. His remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Lag Malin, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. and before the funeral tomorrow. And the death has taken place of Seamus Gallen, late of Albert Terrace, Lifford. His remains are reposing at his niece Fiona Robb's home at 42 Clonley Park, Lifford, with removal from there this morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock at 11. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be viewed at clonleyparish.com. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
And we're into the second hour of the 9 till noon show. A very good morning to you, and you're very welcome back. Right, some of your comments here before we get the bingo numbers. There should be a walkover bridge between the Clanry Hotel and Bonnegee Business Park. People putting their lives in their hands every day, crossing the 4 lanes out there daily. Again, a perfect example of where it would make sense to have a pedestrian bridge. Hi, Greg. Letterkenny is a disaster to drive around. Stopped doing my shopping in Letterkenny. Give me Derry any day. They say, well, that's the kind of attitudes that you have to actively try and change. And by the way, you're perfectly entitled to shop wherever you want. I'm not having to go in any way, shape or form, but that's what I'm trying to say. There has to be a coordinated effort to change people's minds. If you haven't been there for a while, maybe you want to go back and see what it's like. Deals in Letterkenny is taking in boxes for the Hope Shoe Box Appeal. The Hope Shoe Box Appeal new drop-off centre is in where Elvery's was on the Pierce Road in Letterkenny. And we have a number here for someone called Madge who you can call as well. The conversation on the car grant, convert your car grant as they've called it. A caller says he's an amputee who lost an arm. He's been advised that he does not qualify for the grant and is deemed not disabled. If he had lost a leg, the situation would be different. Okay, any help out there for someone like that? There's bound to be an organisation that might be able to assist in that person's situation. Hi, Greg. The old owners of Twitter censored the Hunter Biden scandal and did so only 1 month before the US 2022 presidential election, and which Joe Biden would not have been elected president otherwise. Now, I read about this Hunter Biden and his laptop and all extensively on Twitter, if that's what you're referencing. But anyway, the New York Post first broke the Hunter Biden story, and then it was censored by all the major media as being Russian disinformation when they knew there was serious substance to the scandal. As a result, we now have the war in Ukraine, which would have never happened under Donald Trump. That's what is referred to as the law of the unintended consequences. Twitter is not really an authentic media source, given its history in influencing US presidential elections. Okay, that's fine. I get what you're saying, but the proposed changes don't do that either. Elon Musk needs no money. What is the man on about? He's well capable. He spent his own money. Why is he and other people so bothered? There wasn't a word when Dorsey owned it. It was not a billionaire. Well, the reason people are taking an interest in it is because there are a large, loyal group of people that use Twitter, whichever way they choose to use it. And it's been fine for 16 years, some would say. Others would say it needed change. And now all of a sudden, there's huge changes. You can no longer use it effectively for free. You have to pay. You have to subscribe the equivalent to a TV channel just so that your point of view will be seen. So, of course, people are going to have a view and opinion on it, and it's all sort of unfolding in front of your eyes. Many people have been having their say in social media, but what do you think is the general rule of thumb when tipping beauticians and hairdressers? That's a question we're putting out to you there. What is the general rule of thumb when tipping beauticians and hairdressers? It's off the back of a call we had. Spa and beauty therapists and hairdressers are one of the least paid and looked down on professions that there is, even though it's the first place you call on for family occasions or a major event in your life. People wanted us to open during COVID. It was deemed a positive activity of mental health. So yes, we should tip all spa and beauty therapists and hairdressers. I would have thought, now I'm open to correction on this, I would have thought that the pandemic would have made it very clear how important the likes of hairdressers, beauty therapists and what have you are. Has that sort of appreciation subsided? Well, this listener who works in the industry says that they're least paid and the most looked down on profession that there is. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. Good luck if you're playing the bingo today. Here are the numbers.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 7th of November. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S1. It's game number 45. The numbers are 55, 7, 31, 1, 54, 12, 57, 85, 11, and finally 51. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Last Christmas, millions in cash prizes were won by people playing the National Lottery's Christmas scratch cards. This year, you could scratch and win up to €100,000 instantly. Play the National Lottery's range of Christmas scratch cards. The National Lottery. It could be you. Gift responsibly.
If you're a business owner wondering what to get your staff for Christmas, Kelly Centra in Letterkenny have great hampers to suit all budgets. Luxury hampers are a speciality, with delivery available. Also vouchers for Kelly's award-winning diner or Circle K fuel at the forecourt. Get Christmas sorted for your staff now at Kelly Centra, Mountain Top, Letterkenny. Call 91222026.
From the smallest shrub to the largest tree in an awkward place, Donnelly Tree Services provide a complete range of tree surgery services. Whether you need to remove a dangerous tree or some nuisance branches, Donnelly Tree Services have the experience and expertise to carry out tree surgery to the highest of professional standards. Call 083 005 9939. Donnelly Tree Services, Donegal. No job is too small, no tree is too tall.
Donegal County Council advise that a public information day on the preferred option for the Burnfoot Flood Relief Scheme will take place on the 9th of November in Angrennan Hotel from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. This will be the first opportunity for the public to view the option that is preferred for taking forward to the statutory planning process. Attendees will also be able to discuss the option in person with the project team and provide feedback. All are welcome and encouraged to attend.
Give the gift of discovery this Christmas with an overnight escape or a meal they're sure to remember in that place they love or the one they'd love to try. Buy a voucher for one of Ireland's amazing hotels or restaurants today and support Irish businesses while getting a head start on your Christmas shopping. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Candles, lanterns, Christmas trees, decorations and all types of lights. Everything you need for Christmas. Experience the magic of Christmas at Cooney's. Our biggest and best Christmas shop has outstanding value on lights and trees. There really is something for everyone at Cooney's Letterkenny Retail Park.
Hello, Farmer Tinney here. Tinney's Toys are now open 7 days a week. New stock arriving weekly. Our Christmas Club is now open. Check out our entire range online at tinnystoys.com, where we offer free shipping on orders over €75. Buy now, pay later with Klarna. No extra charges. Tinney's Toys, Ireland's largest farm toy superstore. Down by.
Okay, so local group Into the West are to launch a campaign in the hopes of reopening the Northwest Rail Corridor. The Northwest Rail Corridor combines two former rail segments into a new corridor, reconnecting most of the largest towns in the west of our part of the world to the island's rail network. Steve Bradley is chair of Into the West, the rail campaign for Derry, Donegal, Tyrone and Fermanagh. Good morning to you, Steve.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. Right, okay, so we kind of come in and out of this conversation quite a bit on this show as it relates to, a rail connection for this part of the world. So maybe just to set out where we are at the moment. Like, are we at are we as advanced as we've ever been in terms of this actually possibly becoming a reality?
Well, where we are currently, as your listeners will know, is there are 5 counties on the island that don't have access to rail, and they're all in our area and along the border. In the northwest, the 3 largest counties that don't have access to rail are obviously Donegal, Tyrone and Fermanagh. So if you look at a map of rail provision on the island, there's a massive hole in the northwest corner, and into the west we exist to try and do something about that. In terms of progress towards that task, infrastructure takes quite a bit of time to get anything done on. There is something called an all-island rail review strategy, which is ongoing and is due to report realistically early next year now, and that's looking at some of these issues. And what we've done is we've launched a campaign about one specific part of the future network, what we hope will be the future network, called the Northwest Rail Corridor, but we're asking to get reopened. And we're kind of getting our punch in early before that all-island rail review strategy comes out, so that if the strategy then says, yes, there's a case to look at this line, then we'll have built up a head of public steam and we'll have pushed it to the front of the queue, if you like. Or, God forbid, if the report turns around and says that they don't think this line should be opened, we'll say, well, sorry, the public don't agree with you. Let's think again about this.
Yeah, I mean, if public consultation means anything, well, then they can't ignore the Northwest, because there was an awful lot of interest and many submissions that went in to this strategy, were sent into as part of it from the Northwest.
Yeah, the highest number of submissions to the public consultation came from our area, and the highest number in its own right came from Fermanagh Omagh, which is actually the smallest council area in Northern Ireland, yet it had the highest across the whole island. And then second highest was Derry Strabane, and then I think it was Donegal after that. So there's clearly popular support and a strong voice in the Northwest for the return of rail to our region, and we're sort of galvanising that in our campaign to try and apply pressure on the politicians and on the civil servants north and south to basically say, yep, we have this need, clearly. We have the support, let's do something about it.
I think the outgoing Northern Secretary in his last couple of days of office made a positive decision in that regard, did he not?
Well, it wasn't a decision. We had caretaker ministers until about a week and a half ago. But unfortunately, they're no longer in place. There's nobody steering the ship on infrastructure in the north. What the caretaker minister John O'Dowd did do, almost as he was walking out the door, he kind of shouted over his shoulder, "Oh, maybe do a feasibility study or see if you can find the money for feasibility study on a few things." And one of them was the idea of reopening part of the Northwest Rail Corridor.
But that's not insignificant.
So obviously we're grateful that. Yeah. No, absolutely not. I mean, we're grateful that it was considered, but we would say that if it was sincere, it should have been done when he was in office at any point, not shouted over the shoulder when you're going out the door. But it is a positive sign. It shows that he is listening. We met with him over the summer. We had a really productive meeting with him, and it shows that he is listening. And we've noticed a real change in the politicians in the last 5 years, whereas beforehand they would have just dismissed rail out of hand and told us their voters don't use it. Now they're sitting up, they're listening, they're taking it more seriously, and they're starting to respond. And that's why our campaign, again, is really important in building momentum and keeping that going forwards.
Like, it shouldn't be such a hard fight, should it? I mean, particularly given the fact that, the hot topic at the moment is climate. I would imagine, rail has less impact if there's less cars on the road, more people using rail. We're constantly struggling for better connectivity into the Northwest. It's relatively inexpensive when you think of some of the money that's been that's swilling around and being spent here, there, and everywhere. I mean, and it also would be a fantastic sort of legacy project for any minister who's green-minded, say, for instance, to leave behind them. It should be an open door we're pushing here.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a real chance here for a politician or a political party to be effectively, to go down in history as the heroes, the people who bring rail back to Donegal. Who wouldn't want that? Because a political party or a politician could trade off that for the next number of decades if they were the people, they were the person, the party who brought rail back to Donegal. And as you mentioned, you made some really good points there. People sometimes think of rail as just being transport, getting from A to B. It's about so much more than that. We talk about the 7 additional benefits of rail. It's everything from climate change through to quality of life, social justice, economic development, regional balance. There's so many different reasons why rail is such a positive thing, and it's not just about going from A to B. So hopefully those in politics will see this as an opportunity The need is undeniable. The map speaks for itself. Letterkenny is a fast-growing town. It's designated as a regional centre. It can't fulfil that role unless it has good infrastructure to enable it to be properly connected into the economic and tourism hubs on the island, whether that be in Dublin or in Belfast.
Yeah.
And that's what our campaign's all about. And we've got a meeting about it this evening in Letterkenny, tomorrow evening in Letterkenny as well.
Yeah. At previous meetings, people have expressed frustration, I think. Say, for instance, people from Inishowen saying that really, unless the likes of Inishowen or even maybe West Donegal, or if this is not linked to Sligo, then in a way it doesn't really serve the people like it should. What do you say to them? Is it a case of trying to get Derry to Letterkenny over the line and see where it goes from there, or do you appreciate that people would like to see this campaign to include the likes of Inishowen, Burton Port, like the railway did in the past, Killybegs into Donegal town onto Sligo?
So into the west, we have a series of reopenings across Mid and West Ulster, which we're campaigning for. And we've prioritised within those in terms of which we think have the strongest business case and which would access the largest settlements, because rail needs people to be viable, obviously, in terms of both the setup cost and the running cost. Letterkenny is the prime candidate in Donegal because it has by far the biggest population, 20,000, and that's predicted to grow by another 40 to 50% in the next 20 years. So it's the most obvious place to return rail to, and the most obvious place to do that from is the fourth largest city on the island, which is 21 miles up the road from it. So that's why we're starting with this particular corridor, the Northwest Rail Corridor. But we also want to continue what's called the Western Rail Corridor, and that's the idea of a line of rail from Limerick through Galway to Sligo, and then up from there through Donegal, so through places like Donegal Town, Bundoran, Ballyshannon, Ballyboffish, up to Letterkenny to connect in with the Northwest Rail Corridor. So that's something we're definitely pushing for. I guess the question of will rail return to everywhere but had it in the past, I think if we're being honest, probably not. The car genie is out of the bottle. Things have changed from when railways were built in the 1800s. We try to work on a principle-based approach because obviously everybody would love rail to return to their village or town. We think you probably need a minimum of about 10,000 people to justify rail. But if you're a smaller place and you happen to be...
But that's if it's looked at purely commercial. I mean, we subsidise flights all over the place. I mean, can you not also have, twin track plans that would be, there'd be a subvention that, this is about providing links, not always for profit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 100%. We public transport is a public good and should be treated that way. But also, government money is finite, and you have to prioritise. And then it's important to separate the setup costs of installing it versus the revenue costs of running it. And you need a certain base number of people to justify rail. There's no point putting in a railway station and a train pulls in and one person gets on it, every 2 hours. It needs numbers to be justified. And otherwise that is money which has been taken away from schools, hospitals and everything else. So absolutely, public transport is a public good. It has to be seen that way. We will never get a public transport system which isn't subsidised, just like we won't stop subsidising schools and hospitals, and that's important to accept and to understand. But as I said, we think you need a principle-based approach to where rail should return. We would suggest about 10,000 town population, but smaller places would still get rail back if they were en route. So, for example, Manor Cunningham, Newton Cunningham, which would be on the route between Derry and Letterkenny, would be prime contenders for rail, even though they only have a population of a couple of thousands.
Right.
So that's what we would suggest.
I was given
really
costings
important
before, and I just can't remember them, Steve. What would be the estimated cost of the Derry to Letterkenny link?
So we estimate, and this is very much an estimation, so please don't hang us on this, we would suggest that Derry Portadown Down would probably be about 850 million, and Derry to Letterkenny, you need a bridge, and that's where a chunk of the cost is based on that. So you'd be talking somewhere between 200 and 300 million for that, because the bridge itself will be a significant chunk. There is an opportunity within that, in that there is a push for a third road bridge across the River Foyle for Derry City. And if you're able to combine that as a joint road and rail bridge, there would be significant savings on that. But, big infrastructure costs big money. There's no way around that. You can't do this thing cheaply. But once it's in, as we've seen with our other railways, it'll be in for centuries. Yeah,
well, we're in a space now where 200 or 300 million seems like loose change.
Small beer.
Yeah, okay. Right, so there, for anyone who is interested, there are a couple of meetings taking place tonight in Derry. You tell us where the meetings are and at what times, actually, Steve, rather than me trying to struggle to find the information here.
Okay, so tonight we're in the Hollywell Trust on Bishop Street in Derry. All the meetings start at 7 p.m. So Derry tonight, 7 p.m, Hollywell Trust. Tomorrow we're in Letterkenny in the Station House Hotel, from 7 p.m. Wednesday we're in Omagh, Strual Arts Centre from 7 p.m. Then the following week is Dungannon on the Monday, that's Monday the 14th in the Alley Theatre. And then finally we're doing a joint Strabane-Lifford event on Thursday the 17th of November. That will be in the Alley Theatre in Strabane. And that's joint Strabane-Lifford because our proposal is that any station for that town should be joint across the border for both Strabane and Lifford, because they are effectively twin towns, if you like. So if anybody would like to see rail return either to Letterkenny or to East Donegal, to Lifford and its hinterland, then please do come along to one of those meetings. Again, the particular ones for Donegal are Letterkenny tomorrow night, Station House Hotel, 7 p.m, and then Thursday the 17th, Strabane-Lifford at the Alley Theatre in Strabane.
All right, thanks very much for your time. That's Steve Bradley there, who is chair of Into the West, the rail campaign for Derry, Donegal, Tyrone and Fermanagh. Okay, we'll play that for our Gaga Martin McShay in Loch Sult. Have a great day from all your grandchildren. is celebrating his 60th birthday. Have a great day. Right, let's take a break. Back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account. Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Adult Safeguarding Day takes place this month. An important step to prevent adult abuse is to respect and support everybody's right to decision making, including if someone is frail or living with a disability or serious illness. It's also essential to respond to adult abuse. If someone is at an immediate risk of harm, call 999 or 112. If worried about an ongoing concern, contact your safeguarding team at hse.ie/safeguarding. From Safeguarding Ireland, supported by the HSE, safeguardingday.ie.
Lancome has an exclusive beauty gift waiting for you at McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. Simply purchase 2 Lancome products, one to be skincare, and get a free 8-piece gift containing a full-size comfort mousse, Absolute day and night travel size creams, plus more of your favourite iconic Lancome products. Available until Saturday the 12th of November or while stocks last. T's and C's apply at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Donegal Creamery's Milk and Homeland stores have teamed up to reward their loyal customers with €10 off. Just collect 30 tokens from Donegal Creamery's Milks and receive a €10 off voucher, which can be redeemed in one of 34 Homeland stores or on homeland.ie when you spend €50 or more on fuel, feed, garden, agri-pet, paint and more. Limited time offer, so start collecting tokens from Donegal Creamery's Milk today.
All ready for next year? We are with our award-winning Seat SUVs, the bold crossover Arona, the family favourite Ateca and the spacious 7-seater Tarraco. All ready with great PCP finance offers and a service plan for just $9.99 a month. Available to order at DMG Motors, Claw Road, Donegal Town. Book a test drive today. Visit seat.ie to find your 231 SUV. Finance provided by Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland, trading as Seat Financial Services. Subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited, trading as Seat Financial Services, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
Okay, there's a struggle at the moment for those involved with tidy towns and not least in and around Letterkenny because of graffiti. John joins us to discuss this now to help highlight it. Good morning, John.
Yes, Greg. How are you this morning?
I'm fine, John. Right, so what are we seeing and how much of it's out there?
Well, it's getting more prevalent around the town now, Greg. The Letterkenny Tidy Towns are coming from getting a gold medal there for keeping the town tidy. It's quite amazing for a large town in Donegal and Ireland. And now we have to look at this graffiti all over the town, different parts, Ballymacool, the convent, different parts of the town there, around the roundabouts, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's trying to represent, it's supposed to be a swastika, not a swastika, to do with the Russian and then.
All right, is it primarily the Z that we're talking about, is it?
Yes, the Z we're talking about, and there's people putting up different stuff around the town there on that front, So it's just, I would love to meet that person or that whoever they are and have a wee chat to them.
Do you think they understand?
We have people.
Yeah,
we have people. Sorry, Greg. We have people from the Ukraine involved, and they want to give back. They're not here. They're here to give. I know they're in a bad situation. Our whole country's upside down at the minute between housing, everything else. But these people are down that square every Sunday. Where can we pick rubbish? They want to give. These are very smart, educated people, and now they have to look at this, carry on around the town. Zeds up everywhere.
Mm. And have you spoken to any Ukrainians who've obviously they've seen these Zs? Have you had a conversation with them about what it means to them or how it makes them feel? Or?
Well, they're upset. I know one person in particular. He's from Donegal. I'm not going to say where he's from, but he's just upset, and he's nearly in tears, really. Coming here, he's a very smart man, an engineer. He says, I don't want to be here, So it has to be here now at the minute or whatever. But maybe we should rethink that whole thing of
we know where that swastika thing came from. It's the 1920s, but I suppose different parts of the world it means peace. Japan, for instance, a place like that there. But it's attached to the extreme Nazi party, so it's not welcoming, really.
Yeah, but it's the kind of thing, it doesn't take dozens and dozens of people to do it. It just takes one person with motivation and a spray can.
I would love to meet the person or people. I would love to meet them and see what's going on. But we'll have to go out now and paint and get the things ratified for the tiny towns coming up in 2023. The national, we hope to win it again. That's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, maybe they might desist on that kind of carry on, if possible.
Board or something. Okay, right, John. Listen, it's graffiti and doing graffiti is not legal, so maybe the guards have a role to play. Who's to say? But thanks for your time this morning, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you for highlighting. Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care of yourself. Thank you very much indeed. Now, 1 month ago today, the unimaginable happened. An explosion in Creeslough that devastated Creeslough and the county and beyond. James O'Flaherty, Jessica Gallagher, Martin McGill, Catherine O'Donnell and her son James Monaghan, Hugh Kelly, Martina Martin, Robert Garvey and his daughter Shona Flanagan Garvey, Leona Harper, all lost their lives. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Really is unbelievable. A further 8 people were injured, one of those very seriously injured. Our thoughts remain and have never ventured too far. Our thoughts for all of those directly affected by this and the families of the injured and those left trying to process what happened on that day. Father John Joe Duffy joins us on the programme now. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us this morning, Father John Joe. Of course, you're always incredibly busy, but we do appreciate your time greatly.
No, thank you, Greg.
It's still a struggle in terms of coming to terms with everything, even to think it's a month. I'm not sure if it feels longer or if it feels like it's yesterday, because it's just still hard to put into a context in the mind's eye, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in some ways it just feels like yesterday. I suppose the feeling I have had is that I just find it very difficult to get my head around what has happened, and there are moments that you feel you were there, and there are other moments you feel that you weren't there, and yet, as I said, we're all I'm all too aware, as are we all, that we were there. But there's shock, there's numbness, there's different emotions, and the feeling of shock, I suppose, and numbness is beginning to wear off a bit, and it's just it's just so difficult. There's just an unrealness to it as well, as it's been very real, and it's just as you described it, really.
How is the community coping, if that's the right word, Father John? There's very few words that you can sort of use that don't feel wrong in a way. But how is the community? And it's not just Creeslough, of course. There's people affected by this far beyond Creeslough as well. But how are people moving forward if they can?
Well, coping is the word, and is the only word that I can use as well. And you know, it's a community that has a very strong heart, and it is very much a community that is also determined. And I suppose for the families and for the community in general, and for those who arrived at the scene first and worked there and so on, it is particularly difficult, and they're coping. They have moments where they are coping, and then there are those moments where it is much more difficult, and there are tears, and there are, there's those moments of calm and reflection, and the community is striving to cope, and then that. The post office has reopened, and there's a temporary shop also being set up. Those are just some of the tangible things, and
then there are those who are attending the counselling services, and that's very important. And the under 13 is winning on Sunday week gave us a great boost, and then thanks to Dennis Ferry, it just part of the generosity of so many in this community. Dennis generously gave ice cream and treats to the under 13 team yesterday after Mass, and to the children of the community. And the way the community are coping is that people are ministering to one another, people are there for one another, people are just doing their best to be there for people, and that's all we can do, because words are difficult to find and so on, but it's just that togetherness and walking together in that journey, which no doubt will be a long journey, and there'll be a lot of steep hills to climb on that journey, but we're very determined as a community to bring everyone on that journey, and that's those living within the community, and those, let's not forget, those who have been affected from outside the community, and the families from outside the community who have been impacted upon directly, and then those who responded, just caring for one another and wanting to let each other know that they are each person wants to let others know that they are very much in their thoughts as well, and prayers, and there's just that lovely togetherness that extends beyond the boundaries of the Creeslough parish, if you want to call it the physical boundaries. It's a bigger community. It's the community. When I refer to the community, it's all those who were involved in this.
It's a community, but it's a cross section of many communities really that make up the community impacted by this. And also too, Father John Joe, by nature we're very unique as individuals, not just unique in terms of our family groups, but even uniqueness within those, and everybody deals with grief their own way and move forward their own way, and I suppose everyone's sort of trying to find their own pathway individually as well as in the collective sense that you've just been so well outlining.
Come here. Things are affecting some people in the same ways, but you cope differently, and different people are affected in different ways at different times, and any one person is affected in different ways at different times, and that's the reality of what we're experiencing. And for some, you slept well for the first few weeks, and now it's sleeping less, and the trauma is really. I think that the trauma is only beginning to hit many of us now, to be quite honest, even though we have been living through that trauma, but it's beginning to impact more and become just that more real.
And for some it might be after the month's mind, for others it might be after getting through Christmas. We just don't know. Everyone is different. And with that in mind, are you satisfied with the measures that are in place to support people? Obviously, there is a rule book to some extent in terms of these types of tragedies as to what type of counselling is given at what times. Are you happy from the people you're speaking to that all the supports that need to be there from the HSE, for example, are there currently, Father John Joe?
Well, I have been talking to a few people, and I'll be relating back those views to the HSE. I've been talking to people over the weekend, but it's very much a multifaceted approach that has taken place as well, and that is very much needed. There is a counselling with the HSE, and now that can be accessed by telephoning or going through the GP, the drop-in centre. Was being used less and less, the HSE told me, and the more people were making those calls online. So what they were saying was that they had counsellors there, and then maybe for hours, and it's a much better streamlining and use of resource by making the appointment. And then, of course, we are doing a novena of masses here at the church after most of the month's minds will have taken place, and there are some people coming to speak at those, so there will be it'll be healing through
people speaking about their own experiences. There will be prayer, of course, and then, of course, there will be some music and singing. So just to try and continue with that healing and that multifaceted approach, which is then taking place also in the clubs and the different organisations within the community. So there needs to be a continuation of joint up thinking and a joint up approach as we go forward between the professionals, between ourselves here at the church, and between the different organisations in the community.
Obviously, the main road through Creeslough remains closed, and we all understand why. Is there a sense within the community that this is the right approach, to take as much time as is required to make sure we have as many answers as there is possible?
The roads that people are trying to navigate are very difficult. So it will be welcomed when the road is opened, of course, whenever that is, and it will also be a stark reminder as we drive past where the accident happened of what has happened to, not that we need to be reminded by seeing it because it's in our thoughts continually, but yes, of course, everyone, were particularly the families, and everyone is looking for that answer. Everyone is asking the question, how could that happen? Why, and why? And please God, those who are investigating will be able to find those answers and give those answers, first of all, to those of the families of the bereaved, and then if there is, I don't know what those answers will be. None of us know what happened. But if there's something we can learn from that to prevent something like this ever happening again in our community or in any other community, that will be good.
Yeah, and messages coming in to Father, and I know you won't want me to read them to you, but just thanking you for all that you have done. And
come here, I was simply doing my job.
I understand that.
I had a team around me, a team of people, and the team that was that entire wider parish community, first of all, and that wider community of all the people that were involved, and. If I were to say anything, I just have to say thank you to those people who rushed in those moments while there was petrol tanks in the ground, while there was live electricity, and while that building was so very unstable and bits of it continuing to fall at great risk to their own lives, to bring out the injured and then continue with the recovery, and in those first minutes, those first hours, those first seconds, indeed. So those are the people that we really have to say a big thank you to, and many of them will remain anonymous. And there's others that we know, and to them we owe so much.
I'll read one to you. It's from Donna Harper, who's watching the show. Thank you, Father, for all you've done. Rest in peace to our beautiful girl, Leona, and rest in peace to all the beautiful souls that were lost on this day. No one will ever forget. Thank you to all that helped on the day, forever in our hearts. So, as I say, it would be remiss of me not to read that to you because it's such a powerful message. Another, can you wish Father John Joe well from everyone in Stranola? I think you there was this is not about you, because I know you don't want it to be about you, Father John Joe, but I think it's important recognising that something we can all learn from, maybe outside of this tragedy, in that you bared your soul to some extent, talking of how this impacted on you personally, encouraging people that needed to hear it, maybe that there was help there to reach out and get that help. In other words, we're not infallible. We can have really strong faith or really strong mental health, but at any given time, all of us at some point or other might need that assistance, and that it's the right thing to reach out and get that help, Father. And I think, in terms of putting into the context of your own experiences, I think that really pushed others that may not have sought help to seek help.
Yeah, I encourage people to draw on the help is available, and to talk about this, because there are people who were there, and it was really tough. It was, even talking about the locals who first responded. Then there was others. There was the Gardaí, there were fire services, and they had to calculate in a way how best to proceed while continuing to protect all life, including protect the lives of those who were the first responder, who were the first to respond, and all of those things. There's people carrying very heavy burdens. And I encourage people to go to your own GP first of all, and to talk to people, and they're also they're the priests at Ards, there ourselves in the diocese, there's clergy from the other denominations, and just please reach out and speak to others about what you're going through, because there's people that have to be going through so much, the bereaved, of course, and those who responded first, and then between the Gardaís and civic authorities, and and the different services that arrived, there's so many,
and also too then, there's the emotional side of it, but then there's some people's family structures that have changed forever. They're going to have to take on certain responsibilities, and I suppose we all have a role too, as much as we can, to assist in that level of support too, where it's needed. Father John Joe, thanks for your time today, and a collective thanks.
Just to say thank you to you, Greg, and to your team, and to the others in the media that have done your best to encourage people as well, to make use of the services, and your sensitivity as well. And I was just, and I thank the media for responding to that call to give the family that space and time for the month's mind masses, that privacy that they need, as does the community.
Okay, Father John Joe, thank you. I appreciate your time this morning. Okay, that's Father John Joe Duffy there. Right, okay, let's take a break.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Are you a self-assessed income taxpayer? Use Ross Revenue's online service to pay and file online by November 16th. If you're not yet registered for Ross, do so today at revenue.ie. Avoid a surcharge, interest, penalties and a possible tax audit. Don't miss the November 16th deadline. Pay and file on time.
Whoever you want to tick off your gift list this Christmas, there's something for everyone at Boots. We've got thousands of amazing gifts, like fragrances by Marc Jacobs, beauty by Kylie and MAC, and electrical beauty from Dyson and Shark. With a huge range of beauty and wellness gifts, there's joy for all at Boots this Christmas. Selected stores and boots.ie, subject to availability.
Love swimming? Love it with a level head. Learn about weather, tides and rip currents. Be visible with a brightly coloured hat and tow float. Swim parallel to shore and never alone. Afterwards, get warm quickly. This is Water Safety Ireland. Better safe than sorry. For open water swimming advice, visit watersafety.ie, supported by the Government of Ireland.
Years ago, I used to dread my motor insurance renewal. Then a friend told me about O'Malley Scanlon Insurance in Ballybofey and Dunlow. They do all the hard work. They contact all the major insurance underwriters and they get the very best possible quote for me. They have saved me a small fortune over the years and they could do the same for you.
When your insurance comes up for renewal, contact O'Malley Scanlon Insurance at their Ballybofey office on 9131020 or their Dunlow office on 952206. O'Malley Scanlon is regulated by the Central Bank.
Are you frequently asking others to speak slowly, clearly and loudly? Is listening to the TV or radio becoming harder? If your hearing is affecting your everyday life, Connect Hearing are here to help. Our clinics in Letterkenny and Dunlow are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Take that first step to better hearing. Call us today on 07491 13296. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
All right, you're very welcome back to the show. Now, someone sent in the question. We posted it on social media. Hi, Greg. I saw this over the weekend, and I have to say it's something that I really battle with. How much do you normally tip your hairdresser? A colour and cut can often cost me €150, which I feel is expensive enough. Should I be expected to tip on top of that? This caller says, hi, Greg. I always tip my hairdresser. Always did and always will. She deserves it. Another, I'm a barber and I do get €1 to €2 sometimes, maybe a £5 for Christmas from some customers. I tip my hairdresser at least €10. She does my hair exactly as I like it and I appreciate her work. My hairdresser is not overpriced, so I think she deserves it. Another, I paid €27 for a haircut after the first lockdown. This price went up to €45. The excuse was COVID, cleaning, social distances. Prices never went back down. I'm feeling really ripped off. And that's just a sample of some of those coming in, some of those comments coming in.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
All right, it is 11 o'clock. Let's get a news update and say good morning once again to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The CEO of the Celta Hospital Group says the appointment of a senior manager to oversee governance at Letterkenny University Hospital will help ensure that management and communication are as good as they can be, both within the hospital and between the hospital and Celta. A review involving the Celta executive and senior management at LUH began in the spring. The parish priest of Creeslough says last month's tragedy is still very raw for the local community. Today marks exactly 1 month since 10 people lost their lives in an explosion at the village shop and petrol station. Father John Joe Duffy says there is still a numbness in the area. The Cathaoirleach of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District is calling for the local improvement scheme to be reviewed. Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly says the scheme in its current form is a disaster because there simply isn't enough money available for the projects which are being put forward by people. He believes the LIS model should be abolished and a grant-based approach taken instead. Tech companies are branding job losses in the industry a correction because of the fact that they overhired, according to the editor of Silicon Republic. Meta, Instagram and Facebook's parent company, is reportedly set to cut thousands of jobs this week. Some of them, it's feared, in Ireland. A Donegal councillor says electric vehicle charging points are a basic necessity. Councillor Albert Doherty says additional charge points need to be put in place, particularly in Inishowen. His call comes after the Northern and Western Regional Assembly posted a survey this morning which found 79% of people are unlikely to buy an electric car within the next 12 months, largely because of what the report calls range anxiety. And Bundoran Lifeboat is looking for new volunteers to take up roles as inshore lifeboat crew in the waters around Donegal Bay. Potential candidates will undertake training for over a year before being placed on call to attend alerts. The RNLI's local press officer Shane Smith says previous maritime experience is not necessary. Further details on the Bundoran RNLI's Facebook and social media pages or on rnli.org. Links on our own website as well. That's the news for now. Back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Donald. All right, Brendan Devaney joins us in studio now. Brendan, how are you getting on?
I'm all right,
Good
Greg.
to have you with us. The
Thanks
DL debate is on this evening, and you're wrapping up all the weekend GAA action. Letterkenny Girls, Derry Noose in the Ulster Junior Football Championship are going to feature, of course.
That's right. The Gaels flying the flag, and first time on the Ulster, and an interesting. I suppose I was speaking to Charlie Cannon last night. I ran into him, a big man in the Gaels club. So there's something so different about going on the Ulster, Greg. You know, you're so used to the Donegal teams and the pitches and where you're playing and that. So it's a great, I suppose, adventure for the Gaels. So one in their first game in Ulster is mighty impressive. They made hard work of it now, but they're through now to play Stewartstown of Tyrone. So listen, hopefully they can progress, and as I say, Satanta as well, after a huge layoff, going on against Olrua of Tyrone, and Olrua who were playing at a level above this championship, you know, this last number of years, so they would have been probably favourites, even though Satanta were at O'Donnell Park, which is kind of their home venue, or that's where the hurlers play. So after all the rain too, you know, it was amazing. A lot of these games went ahead, and even though the pitch was a bit heavy for O'Donnell Park, it's probably the best place around, and lucky for the hurlers that they have that there, so they advance as well. So they're playing Namaya of Derry in the next round. So yeah, good to see it. And of course Niamh Connell in action in the seniors next week as well. So we're going to chat to Gary McDade. He was at match there of Letterkenny Gaels and talk about Donegal GA and maybe the Donegal management and who's coming in and what's the word on the street, Greg, you know.
Yeah, what do you think of, I mean, what expectations are there for the likes of Niamh Connell going into the Ulster Senior Club Championship? I mean, how is that competition viewed really, you know, by a team that's won the county championship?
Yeah, it's huge, Greg. It's by far the best provincial. I mean, the teams that all won it there, I mean, amazing list of teams in there. And Crossmaglen, who were, I think, third favourites, they were playing Ballybay, who were, I think, second last outside of Carrigan, the team that Niamh Connell are away to there, the real rank outsiders. So we're hoping Niamh Connell can advance there, but Crossmaglen were beaten by Ballybay. So that was their first one in Ulster, that Ballybay side, and fair play to them. There's a bit of magic in there. That was a preliminary round, so all the quarterfinals now are this week. So one of the big hitters have gone already, Crossmaglen. So listen, that's
opens it up a bit, yeah.
Yeah, it does indeed.
We were chatting to Anthony Malloy last week. Of course, you did your interview, I did mine. Between the two of us, hopefully we got something out of it. But we're getting his views on the new senior football team setup. He seems pretty optimistic. Recognises, as you do too, really, that we need to find maybe a different way of playing, but also, you know, we need some new defenders in. Yeah. But optimistic, seemingly.
Yeah, listen, I think Anthony is that way anyway. He knows from being around teams and that there's no point in anything now but positivity, and you have to give these boys, you know, every room to put their stamp on it, and I suppose overhaul things a bit. You know, they're definitely coming in to try and make Donegal their best. So it remains to be seen. I know there's a 1 year review in there, which is
a bit mean.
I don't know. I suppose it's such a big job now, and I think with the two lads there, they coming in,
but what
they
can
probably
you
want the feedback.
What can you really reflect on in a year?
Yeah.
A few league games that a lot of them, the excuse will be, well, sure, look, we're building, it's towards the championship, and I'm losing Ulster, fine loss. You know, I understand why it's there, and it's not unusual, but you'd want to give a team at least 2 years, wouldn't you? Take the pressure off. I mean, there's going to be enough pressure on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else, and on the Sunday game.
I like Paddy Carr's quote on it. Actually, it was a smart way of playing it, saying, "Listen, we want the feedback. We want this discussion." That's him playing a smart game. I like that comment back. Now, if Carl Lacey joins him, I think it would be huge. You know, there's no doubt in it. In the first couple of years of Boner, Carl was in there and he was well got in it. And sure, listen, I mean, the stature he brings, but not only that, I think he was really good at the setup and the tactics, and so there's a strong rumour that he might join the team as well, and I think that could be vital to
be careful. Now, normally when you give strong rumours, your phone goes off whilst we're still doing the interview. Are you happy enough with that one?
Hey, we're in the entertainment business here, Greg.
No, but not whilst we're still on air.
Throw it out there, right?
Yeah, I think that's happened at least twice, you know.
Poor Carl. No, but listen, that's out there. That's not me putting it out there.
It's okay.
It's out there already. So yeah. So
and come here. Another thing too, Anthony says is that, you know, I think he says, I don't want to misquote him, but you know, you talk about maybe needing to go backwards a little bit in how we play the game. That he believes that the old way of playing football, for want of a better way of putting it, those days are gone. That we'll never go back that way, and that maybe something in terms of a rule change is required to try and make the game a bit more attractive. Is a view you would share?
Oh, definitely. It's going to take a real change, I think, at this point, because we've seen it kind of come out, evolve a bit. Now we've seen it being dragged back a bit, not at county and at club. So I'm thinking that leaving the players off, there has to be a rule, I think, brought in to leave players inside. The problem is like the top teams aren't doing that. Greg.
That's what it's funny.
And when you get to maybe the big games of the season and that, and what you call the Dublins and Kerrys and that, even though they do flood players back, they're so quick at the interchange that they do have a kick pass game as well.
Yeah, we saw throwback. Some of the games we saw, we have seen the throwback games. Are like, wow, this is what it's all about. So how do you legislate? Are you disadvantaging them?
Yeah. See, you are a bit, but it's even when Throne won All Ireland, you know, they went man for man at the back by and large and that, and changed it completely again. So the teams that have gone all the way tend to play a different game. Now, the problem is that you could say, right, they have the most talent, so they can do that, and that is correct. But while everybody else falls into that shell, it really kills the game. And I say the Aussie rules.
It's a leveler, though, isn't it?
The Aussie rules, because they became so tactical, I guess they changed it, and there has to be 2 players inside their scoring zone, which at least means you have to kick the ball, which at least opens up. You think, like, if you can drop the full 15 in, and you want to be that much rigid, it really kills the match altogether, and for so many reasons. We've spoken of this so many times. But if you're able to kick pass, if you've got if you even had to have 2 players in the opposition half at least, or inside the 50 or whatever, at least would mean that team has to stay with but more honest. There's going to be a kick pass, and then the game will be more free flowing. And I think at this point it's going to take that change.
Yeah, all right, okay. Much more from Brendan Devaney on the Dale debate. It's on after the 7 o'clock news this evening, reflecting on the weekend's action. Looking forward to a busy weekend again next weekend, and it's all brought to you in association with Sister Sarah's. Right, okay, Brendan, listen to
Brendan Crossan on with me too.
Say what?
Say Brendan Crossan of the Irish News about her.
Very good.
He's coming on to round up the Ulster stuff. Very top man, Brendan. So looking forward to have a chat with him.
As I'm sure all your regulars. All right, thanks very much for that, Brendan. We'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after we take this quick break. Stay right where you are.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Are you or a family member living in Europe or Britain? Well, this year at Highland Radio, we want to make Christmas extra special for one lucky family. We want to bring someone home for Christmas who couldn't make it home to see their loved ones. To nominate someone close to you, email both sets of contact details and why we should choose you to homeforchristmas@highlandradio.com. And don't forget, you can nominate yourself by sending your details and reasons why to homeforchristmas@highlandradio.com, and then let Highland Radio work its Christmas magic. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, visit highlandradio.com.
Wetsuit on and underwater by air.
Aprons on, breakfast orders in, conversation flowing, loving every second.
Every day is different. There's always new faces. It really suits me.
It fits my schedule. I can see friends, do my yoga, balance work with life, and enjoy both.
My career in tourism works for me.
And mine works for me.
Get a career in tourism that works for you. Visit tourismcareers.ie. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Connolly's Audi Sligo are returning with their Future Now test drive event, taking place on Saturday 19th and Sunday 20th November at Letterkenny Golf Club. Call in from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will be showcasing our fantastic range of cars for the entire weekend. To avoid disappointment, order your new 231 Audi today with Connolly's Audi Sligo. Visit connolly's.ie to see our full range.
Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the first Joe Dolan Bundoran Music Festival, a spectacular Christmas party night at the Allingham Arms Hotel on Friday, December the 16th, with the sensational Joe Dolan Show, Remembering Joe, featuring 5 vocalists with the Dolan family and the original Joe Dolan Band, cabaret, dinner and accommodation if required. Now booking at the Allingham Arms or online at showtours.ie. Revive the 90s in Bundoran on December the 16th at the Allingham.
Listen up, pet lovers. Feed your pets for less at Pet Value Buncrana. Get Whiskas 80-pack pouches for only €30. Royal Canin puppy range now 20% off. 15 kg bags of dog food starting at €16.50. Get more value at Pet Value. St Mary's Road, Buncrana. Open 7 days a week. Find us on Facebook.
Tugann vaccíní flu agus COVID-19 an breisio atá ag teastal do do chóras in míneachta chun tú a chosint ó hinnas trom chúiseach. Sin an fág a chóir de leanaí daoine sca éasta eibrithe chóram sláinte agus éon duine bhfuil ruch sláinte fatharmach ar rú vaccín atá molta áil. Té chuig HSC.ie nó glí ar a bharaní HSC bio ar 1-8nád, 7nád, chun óras fina vaccín atá molta dite áil. Ó aimimeacht na sabirse sláinte.
All right, just to remind you and to let you know, coming up around the northwest after 12, it's Michaela Flanagan. She's in for John. Okay, so John gets a well-deserved day off. There are people in shops on below minimum wage. I think they deserve a tip more. I'd never think to tip shop staff, but I guess the way things are going, it's something to consider. Yeah, indeed. Hello, would like to say that Finn Valley... actually, I think this is Mark. Are you there in line 1?
Yes,
good
Greg,
stuff. I thought
am.
it was a comment, but I have you to say. It saves me reading it out, Mark. Right, okay. Yeah. So, what do you want to let us know here?
Well, on Saturday, there was a competition down at the Finn Valley Athletic Club in Stranorlar.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say there was about maybe 1,500 to 2,000 people at it. And there was cars parked everywhere. If you know the area around McCool, that's an old estate. There's a lot of elderly people. They were parked everywhere. Nobody could get in to get to their elderly parents. They were parked both sides of the road, going over Dreenham Bridge, up on the footpath. There was no stewards there, no Gardaí there, and I think it was there seemed to be no traffic plan for the area at all.
Mark,
with, the amount of people
in the past, there's been big events there. Is there always a parking problem when there's a big competition ongoing, or normally is there a bit of organisation to manage the traffic?
No, anytime there's a big event there, even 5K or something like that, the local people, you go outside. Maybe if the 5K was on a Sunday and you took the car down to Mass or go to the local shop, whenever you came back, you had no place to park your car. And the cars were parked. There was a good few cars parked up on the footpaths. Elderly people and people with young families and with pushchairs and that had to go out onto the road to walk, which I think was terrible.
So is there a sense almost of dread ahead of big events then? Because, here we go. We have to give over our footpaths, our driveways and our freedoms to some extent because of the traffic levels.
Well, it's like this, Greg. If Finn Valley are going to hold competitions as big as that, they would need to have a traffic management plan in place and proper, better stewarding of the situation. Even if they have to go away and maybe rent out a local field, they could charge to park the car on it. But that there on Saturday was unacceptable for local residents in the Ardmaccool area of Stranorlar.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if there's been any engagement in the past between a residents group or residents individually and the athletics club?
No, honestly, I don't know. But what happened there on Saturday, no, from what I could see, no Finn Valley personnel out saying you can't park here, you can't park there. If you go on down the road there's a couple of parking spots down there. There was no Gardaí about either. Whenever there's a big football game in the town, Donegal, you're always sure that there's going to be some Gardaí in places around Balmafay to direct the traffic.
All right. Well, listen, it's great to see. It's great to see the club being so successful. It's great to see big numbers, but it can't be at the expense of local residents either. We're in contact with Finn Valley AC to get a spokesperson to see what they have to say. Maybe there was traffic management we didn't see. I don't know, Mark. I just have to wait for their side of it. But I appreciate you helping us to highlight it here. And as I say, it'd be a shame for something that's so successful for a positive event to be tarnished if, understandably residents are angry because they're being inconvenienced. And particularly, I would have a particular interest in, obviously, people in wheelchairs, mobility scooters, the visually impaired, those with buggies. You need access to footpaths, and if they're being blocked, it's completely unacceptable.
It's great facilities down there, Greg, but at the same time, there has to be some consideration given to the local residents whenever there's a big competition on.
Understood. All right, points well made, Mark. Thanks for your time this morning. Right, some more of your comments here. Can you wish Father John Joe well from everyone in Stranola? Of course. Father John Joe's the most amazing human. He has touched people all over the world. God bless you always. God rest all who lost their lives. May they rest in peace and happiness. Bless all who are mourning. May those around them care for them. And I didn't want to embarrass Father John Joe or indeed to in any way take away from the important words that he had to say. But I believe he's celebrating his birthday today, or his birthday today. So we wish Father John Joe as best a situation as possible. I think you understand it's difficult to phrase it correctly, but it is his birthday, and if he doesn't feel in a place to do something now, hopefully in the future he can. Does All Ireland Rail include in his shown? Well, that's not part of the plans at the moment. Another, how much would it cost to have a rail line in the northwest? They estimate 200 to 300 million to get a rail line from Derry to Letterkenny. Do listeners know of someone who qualifies to get college fees paid? With Susie only get this in the Republic. Susie do not pay fees in Northern Ireland. Yeah, that's something that we've touched on this programme before. It's something we might return to, or we'll get some clarity on if need be, which there is need there, of course. Greg, the amount of money and disruption of traffic during the 4-lane project from the Dry Arch, and still it's not going to make one bit of difference to the mess Letterkenny is with traffic. Seriously, we need people with proper qualifications saying what's needed. A total waste of money, in my opinion. The new school for Scoliscum Buncrana sent a message last Wednesday. I don't know what that's kind of like half a text. I'll double check what that means. Greg, I bet the residents in Glentain don't know if that if the estate has not been taken over by the council, every resident in the estate who has paid the property tax is entitled to a refund because no local government money is being spent on their estate. I don't see how that works because I'm paying mine and nothing's been spent on my house. But okay, maybe there's something else there. Right, back to tipping of staff. The barber or hairdresser probably doesn't get the full amount charged. Their employer would take a large portion of that money. Tipping €5 is a kind gesture for tough work. I never tip, they charge enough, says another caller. I think they get paid enough, nearly €70 to get your hair done, and people don't have the money to tip. People would get something at Christmas, but that's all. Another tips €5 to €10. They deserve it. Okay. Back to the rail. Greg, good morning. Is a rail connection to Sligo not part of the plans? Thanks, Charlie. It doesn't seem to be in the map I've saw in the immediate plans. Get it to Letterkenny first seems to be what I can see on the map they've produced. Why not restart the Donegal line as a steam line, then multi-purpose it as transport for locals and a major tourist attraction for the county? I don't think in this day and age, because obviously for steam would require, wasn't it traditionally the burnt coal? I can't imagine any new transport investment that relies on the burning of dirty fuel, as they'd call it, might get the green light. I could be wrong there, but I don't know. Right. Let us take a quick break. More of your comments and more interviews on the way for you.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the first Joe Dolan Bundoran Music Festival, a spectacular Christmas party night at the Allingham Arms Hotel on Friday, December the 16th, with the sensational Joe Dolan Show, Remembering Joe, featuring 5 vocalists with the Dolan family and the original Joe Dolan Band, cabaret, dinner and accommodation if required. Now booking at the Allingham Arms or online at showtours.ie. Revive the 90s in Bundoran on December the 16th at the Allingham.
If I learned one thing in the last year, it's that falling into debt can happen to anyone. Luckily, I heard about the ISI, the Insolvency Service of Ireland. Their professional advisors can help you restructure or even write off your debt. The first thing they said to me was, every debt problem has a solution. I can still feel the relief. So if you're worried, visit their website backontrack.ie or free text Get Help to 50015.
The ISI. Together, we'll get you back on track. This is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Never queue again with Scan and Shop on the M&S app. Simply use your phone to scan and bag items as you go, then pay for your food shop directly from the app. Easy.
Download the M&S app today. See marksandSpencer.ie for details.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Attention farmers. Donegal County Council would like to remind farmers of the importance of good agricultural practice in protecting watercourses over the wet winter period. Make sure soiled water from yards, roadways or the poaching of land doesn't enter waters, and keep out wintered stock away from streams and rivers by fencing off. Locate supplementary feeding points at least 20 metres from waters and not on bare rock. Fix any broken gutters and downpipes to keep clean roof water off dirty yards, and divert all silage effluent to a storage tank. Play your part in keeping Donegal clean and green.
All right, you're welcome back to the programme. It's time for our Monday Focus, and today we're discussing Stand Up Awareness Week, which is running from the 14th next Monday till the 18th of November. Megan Rush works on the Breakout Project, a support group for LGBT young people with the Donegal Youth Service. Thank you very much, Megan, for calling in to see us. Good to have you on the programme.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Right, okay, so talk to us about Stand Up Awareness Week.
So Stand Up Awareness Week, at its crux, it's about standing up against homophobic and transphobic bullying in schools and youth services. And how do we do that? By encouraging friendships and positive understanding of LGBTI plus young people.
How's that done? Is that a role we have to take on as individuals?
Well, I think so, personally. There's so many different things we can do. We stand up for other people if we see them targeted online or in person. I mean, look, Greg, I like a bit of banter as much as the next person. I think being able to have a laugh is one of the biggest lessons you learn in life. But we all know there is a fine line where jokes and laughter just become bullying. And Stand Up Awareness Week is about standing up against that. When we see it, we don't just be a bystander. We call it out, exactly. Because at the end of the day, you and I and everyone else listening in, we all have an LGBTI plus person in our families, in our friendship groups, as a co-worker that we know and love. And we want to make them feel comfortable. We want to make them feel loved and accepted. And that's what Stand Up Awareness Week is about.
So with that in mind, and without getting into the ins and outs of the individual and what have you, obviously in the last week there was some controversial comments made that seemed to be weaponised against the LGBTI plus community. Whether or not the words were said with that intention, they were. In other words, someone with influence has said that this is a sin, this shouldn't be happening. It's almost like one step forward and two steps back sometime, because there does seem to be an appetite for that mindset out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're very lucky to live in the Ireland we do live in, where the vast majority of people do accept the young people that I work with. You know, we have a very positive country for that, but there's always going to be a vocal minority, I suppose. And in my opinion, the best thing we can do, call it out. Absolutely, that's what Stand Up Awareness Week is about. But I think it's also important to point out to ourselves and to the LGBTI plus people we know, these people are a minority. They don't represent Ireland. We need to look to the future. That's where we're going. I do think these attitudes are a remnant of the past that we're moving further and further away from.
I would say there's very few people listening to us, if any, that would not have someone that they care deeply about that would not be part of the LGBTI plus community.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the reality, isn't it?
That's the reality. And the thing is, you might not even know it. You know, I mean, like, I've definitely learned, like, it's an honour and a privilege to work with the young LGBTI people I work with. They're just the kindest, funniest, most intelligent young people. I love working with them, but if you pass them on the street, sure, unless they're waving their flags about, you wouldn't know, absolutely.
Yeah,
so
because there's this situation too whereby there are young people particularly, and older people as well, you know, who the only thing that differentiates them is they maybe fancy someone else, you know, fancy someone of the same sex, right? That's
absolutely, that's
okay,
it.
but they can't really express themselves or live their life as they would like to, because people close to them, they believe, goes against their views. Now, maybe a conversation could resolve that, but that's how people are living their lives. It's sad that people can't find happiness just because of...
Yeah, absolutely. It's heartbreaking. And we at Breakout and Donegal Youth Service, that's one of the major support services we provided, a safe space for, if you will, for young LGBTI people who maybe don't have that support from their family, who maybe their families are part of that aforementioned vocal minority. And you know, it's horrible when you think about there's a young person who's not getting the support and love from their family that every young person should have. But I think, you know, at the same time, I do feel so lucky and privileged that I'm in a position where my work is to create a space where these people can feel acceptance, where they can feel support in community.
Yeah, and you reference it as a vocal minority. Is it a vocal minority? Because there is a significant pushback, I think, particularly towards transgender people. It's not just here. I know some people in the gay community. I know they also maybe have some issues in this space as well. Is it actually really a vocal minority, or because I think if you shut it down as that, we don't have a conversation. And I'm not into mudslinging, marginalising people, or what have you. But I think sometimes things need to be spoken out in front because they're being spoken about in the back.
Yeah, I think, like, first of all, the LGBTI community isn't a monolith. Everyone has varying political opinions. You know, you'll find gay people on every end of the political spectrum. That's just the reality. And I do think conversation absolutely has to happen. I think, you know, the most important thing about my job is facilitating, even among the young people I work with, facilitating the different opinions they have within the group. Some of those opinions are related to the community itself. And I 100% agree there's conversations that need to be had, but I don't see why these conversations can't come from a place of kindness. I think when we're seeing this pushback against transgender people, as you say, a lot of this, it's not a conversation for a lot of people. It's an attack.
It's a lot of it's an area that a lot of people actually are afraid to step in to even have an opinion because it's so polarized that you can be cancelled or hung, drawn, and quartered from any quarter. And so what happens is it's a space that people don't want to step into. But anyway, listen, we don't want to get bogged down in that. So when we talk about homophobia or standing up or words that offend, I think maybe, you know, a lot of words that would be offensive to certain people are used very casually, and maybe people don't realize that if someone is gay and they're in earshot and they hear them use a certain word, it's important that they understand the weight that their language can carry. You know, in other words, a lot of attitudes, some things are said, but there's not intent there.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's part of it, isn't it? Awareness, understanding.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the kind of tenets of the group where we want to create, like I said originally, a safe space, but that also means creating a safe space for maybe the people you're working with who aren't LGBTI, who maybe aren't as caught up in what's right and what's wrong and who knows what to say and who knows not what to say. So what you said there about we don't want to make people feel worried that they can't have a conversation. Like, I'm all about facilitating conversation, having like a healthy debate, absolutely. And the one thing we do say to our young people, unless someone is intentionally speaking to you with malice, trying to hurt you, 9 times out of 10, someone using the incorrect word or maybe the wrong pronoun or whatever, 9 times out of 10, it's an honest mistake.
Yeah, because
it's an honest mistake.
We're conditioned to use certain language in certain ways.
Yeah, especially in Ireland.
But I think this, from people I know, there is that understanding.
Yeah.
What they really want is just for you to recognise and to understand, and even if you correct yourself, that's fine.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
like
it's just okay. Right, so supporting people, standing up for them, you know, speaking out, not just being a bystander, maybe a tweet or a Facebook post of support, that type of thing. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, specifically in relation to young people, like, speak to your schools, speak to your youth workers. What can I do? You know, my sister's a lesbian, my cousin's gay. I want to show I support these people. What can I do to get involved? If you come down to Donegal Youth Service now over the next couple of weeks, we're based in the Loft in Port Road, and we'll be doing so many different activities during the week. We'll be having our quiz on Friday night the 18th to celebrate the end of stand-up week. We'll be doing window painting, chalk it up, weather permitting. This is Donegal. Sometimes you cannot do the outdoor activities planned.
On that one.
Yeah. But, you know, we'll be making balloon arches. We'll be doing rainbow-themed baking. Really just wee activities, wee fun events, just to let the young people know we're there for them. They have a support space that's here, and it's of course open to anyone, gay, straight, trans, however you identify.
Well, do you think we'll get to a point whereby, you know, that where we don't feel we need to identify ourselves by our sexual preference, that in other words it actually doesn't really matter? Do you think we'll ever get to that point? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't really, it's none of my business what you know, what people are interested in. And I don't mean that as in I'm taking a stand back and I wouldn't get involved. But in other words, it doesn't bother me what someone's sexual orientation is if no one's getting hurt and people are happy. At what point will we get to it whereby just people live their lives?
I mean, like I said, I love my job, but in a dream world, my job wouldn't exist. In that there wouldn't need to be a support system for LGBTI young people because, like you said, if we reach that stage of life where it just didn't matter. You know, because to me, someone's sexual orientation, it plays a huge role in their life, unfortunately, because if in this current world, if you are gay, unfortunately, it will alter how your life is led. But hopefully we will get to the point. I mean, 100 years ago in Ireland, it was inconceivable to be left-handed because it would be literally beaten out of you. And now, sure,
your hand
we
tied
don't
behind your back.
Yeah, now we don't blink an eye.
My child come out to me. I love them so much and totally accept them. The problem is my parents. I don't want to put my child through the acceptance yet. At least not until they're older. Is this the wrong thing to do? It's a difficult one. I know people who took a decision and just says, you know what, I'm not going to just open up this can of worms with my parents because, you know, eventually, you know.
You don't want to put your kid through receiving that kind of maybe abuse, maybe that loss of love and acceptance from someone who was previously a huge part of their lives.
Yeah, but it's a decision they have to balance it up, don't they? But then again...
Yeah, but that's going to come up, like, I think, in your life, whether you're gay or not, you're going to do things that your grandparents aren't going to like.
But I would think I'd prefer, because, I mean, the reality is they will be pre-deceased by their grandparents. I think it might be better for them to know rather than to not know.
I think it's a case-by-case basis.
Exactly, because if it would be like, well... what my grandparents never really knew me, what would they have thought if they did? Rather, I think that would be harder to take maybe than even if there was a negative reaction while they were alive. Anyway, but hopefully that person's only asking the question because they can't make up their minds themselves, I'm sure. Anything you want to add, or do you think it's important to mention ahead of Stand Up Awareness Week?
To reiterate, I suppose, what I said earlier, if you're sitting listening here, I'm not saying this is a maybe or a possibility, but there is someone in your life who is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and maybe you don't know that for certain. Maybe you have your suspicions. Maybe you're not 100% sure. But like you said, Greg, the reality is someone in everyone's life is part of this community. And it could be...
You can't pretend it doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't.
We can't.
Whether you know it or not, you can't pretend it doesn't affect you.
It's there, yeah. So ultimately... just go, I mean, the same way you would treat any other person, I think, with love and acceptance and openness and kindness. And that's what Stand Up Week is about, standing up against what goes against those values.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for your time, Megan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
No, it's been our pleasure. That was Megan Rush there. She works on the Breakout Project. It's a support group for LGBT young people with the Donegal Youth Service. And... Stand Up Awareness Week runs from the 14th to the 18th of November.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Live electricity wires are always near, and coming close to them can be dangerous. So always ask yourself, are you sure it's safe? Look out for electricity wires above and below you. If in doubt, call us on 1-800-372-999. It might just save your life. ESB Networks. Stay safe and stay clear of electricity wires.
With everyone looking to shrink their bill these days, Dunnes Stores gives you new ways to save on your shop with Double Savers. First, you'll save in the aisles when you fill your basket with fantastic low prices across thousands of great products. Then you'll save again at the till with our 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Shrink your bill with Double Savers, new from Dunnes Stores. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
St Columba's College, Stranorlar, open evening for 6th class primary students and their parents or guardians will take place on Tuesday the 8th of November at 7 p.m. in the school hall. A copy of the student's birth cert and PPSN are required to complete the application form.
Century Complex gift cards are the perfect gift this Christmas. Our gift cards can be used throughout the complex in Backstage Bar and Grill, Century Cinemas and Century Play. Available in-store at Century Complex. Call us on 074 912 1976 or check out our website centurycinemas.ie for more information.
Are you or a family member living in Europe or Britain? Well, this year at Highland Radio, we want to make Christmas extra special for one lucky family. We want to bring someone home for Christmas who couldn't make it home to see their loved ones. To nominate someone close to you, email both sets of contact details and why we should choose you to homeforchristmas@highlandradio.com. And don't forget, you can nominate yourself by sending your details and reasons why to homeforchristmas@highlandradio.com, and then let Highland Radio work its Christmas magic. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, visit highlandradio.com. Okie doke. Now, it's the same at O'Donnell Park in Letterkenny when matches are on. The Ballymacool Estate, Kirkstand Road gets blocked with no respect for residents. Gardaí only worry about the main road. Hi, I was wondering if you could highlight SSE Electricity Customer Care Shambles. My wife's been trying to get through to them for 7 days now. Some rubbish being replayed on their answering machine number had to be left for them to reply each time they were contacted. It takes an average well over an hour for an answer if you do get one. Trustpilot reviews are scandalous. Will you mention to your listeners to just hear reviews on it? Thanks. I would suggest send them a tweet. Either publicly tweet them and explain what's going on, and send them a private message, even if you're not on Twitter. Establish an account, because they don't like that stuff happening out in open. So maybe you'll have a little bit of success with that. That being said, all right, as I revealed exclusively on Friday, I have €300 on my electricity bill, and do you think I can get through to try and get that sorted? It's because my direct debit didn't go through because I switched banks and I didn't change that direct debit. It is my fault, of course, but with no warning, €300 was put in my bill, which means my bill's $588, and I can't pay that, so I have to get the 300 off. Set up the new direct debit, but I can't get through to speak to a human to try and sort it out. I've been calling my GP for the last 2 weeks and it's ringing out and then I get cut off, so I decided to just call in and see how I got on, but because I had a chest infection, I was chased. I've had chest infections long before COVID lived, and if she bothered to look at my record, she would see that. I also, to be on the safe side, tested before I called in, and of course it was negative. Can anyone explain why now it takes forever to get an answer from your GP and about 3 weeks to actually get an appointment? It's hard to explain, and I'll tell you what makes it more difficult to explain is that it's not the same experience for everyone. The people listening to us all over the region, right across Donegal, and some people can ring up and get into the GP that afternoon, and for others it seems to be an absolute nightmare. It might be down to population being served by particular GPs. I think that has to be considered. Maybe one GP is serving a whole area, which is impossible really to do so effectively, but others have more choice and are able to see a GP quicker. So it's not across the board, unfortunately, and if I have a suspicion where that text is coming from, there's no alternative for them either. If you're going to justify tipping a beautician or barber, then you're going to have to tip every worker in every sector of every business, says this caller. Another, the Letterkenny Checking Centre for the Shoebox Appeal is where Elvery Sports used to be. Thank you for that. Greg, I recently attended the ED and found my experience very different. We got seen to very quickly and got treated with the best of care. It's nice to hear those stories too. Dave said, I understand the anger after those comments by the Kerry priest and feel most people laugh them off, but I wonder how many of the angry people will watch the World Cup in Qatar, where homosexuality is illegal. Indeed, and football fans have been told to be on their best behaviour when they're over there. But it's like everything, you know, a lot of sports takes place in the UAE now. A lot of controversial money being pumped into sport, but people turn a blind eye because it's money, isn't it? And if you take a high moral stand, that money dries up and money motivates. Right, we're going to speak about the problem of deer on our roads here in Donegal. That's after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Our toy tester Jacob is giving the lowdown on the toys at Lidl.
Select
electric train set is deadly. Choo choo, the wooden play kitchen is great. I've made dinner for the whole family.
This week there's loads of highly rated and great value toys at Lidl. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
6 wardrobe clear-outs, 3 look changes, 1 night in a hotel lost and found, and 10 years of being your favourite. It's fair to say that cardigan has staying power. Irish design and craft isn't just made local, it's made to last. Support makers and find something you love for ages at madelocal.ie. Made local, made to last. Supported by Design and Crafts Council Ireland.
Fly with Aer Lingus from Donegal to Dublin from $29.99 one way. That's 2 flights daily to and from Dublin. So what are you waiting for? See airlingus.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Suit sale now on at Evolve Clothing Letterkenny Retail Park. Massive selection of suiting, reduced. Don't stand still. Evolve.
Connolly's Audi Sligo are returning with their Future Now test drive event, taking place on Saturday 19th and Sunday 20th November at Letterkenny Golf Club. Call in from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will be showcasing our fantastic range of cars for the entire weekend. To avoid disappointment, order your new 231 Audi today with Connolly's Audi Sligo. Visit connolly's.ie to see our full range. Let Joe McGee Butchers feed your family with their 5 for €20 deal. Choose from our fantastic deli range. Lasagnas, cottage pie, chicken curry and soups. Just a sample of our fine products all made in store only at Joe McGee Butchers, Letterkenny and Glencar shopping centres. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, we say Magine Wine now to Councillor Micheál Colin McGill and Nesbitt. Thanks for joining us.
Magine Wine, Greg, could you make it?
Now, you've raised the issue of cars hitting deer. Particularly in rural parts of the county, but not exclusively. And you believe something needs to be done about it. Are we talking about fencing or culling or what?
Well, look, unfortunately, and more so for the poor deers who are getting hurt or killed outright, and those that are involved in the collision as well, there's a problem in West Donegal, Coo and Article, the Mountain Road. Excuse me, I'm a bit hoarse today. I was contacted and says there was an incident there over the weekend. Led to believe that, unfortunately, an ambulance had hit a number of deers outside Ahwalia on the way to Dury, who were on a call. And, you know, so this obviously has a massive impact on those that are in the car and the animal itself, and we don't want to see a case where anybody's getting hurt. We have to learn to coincide what the wild animal it is, deers. But the difficulty is that it's an ongoing issue. It's not rare to hear on a regular basis that somebody's car has been written off because a deer has leaped across the road, and even I suppose I was talking to a person today that's very well informed in relation to deers, and he was outlining to me one of the big difficulties, you know, for instance, say, Erhualia, the new stretch of road to Litchermack Award, is that we've planted or seeded the new side of the road, and that's like honey to bees for deer, and at night they'll walk that 50 yards out of the forest, and they'll start grazing on the side of the road, and that's where we're in a mess. I've been trying to get in contact with the National Parks and Wildlife over the weekend, this morning as well, and eventually got somebody from Dublin to speak to me, who's directed me. But unfortunately what they're saying is that they have no responsibility here, which now, I'm not saying the person's lying, but I find that very hard to believe, and I have to look into it more. They're saying that the responsibility lies with the landowner. So then that begs the question then, if the deer is hitting cars or the cars hitting deers on the road, does the responsibility lie with us, with the Donegal County Council? And I think that then becomes a mess. But it is suggested by a number of people that we need a cull, and I know not everybody would be happy about that. I certainly wouldn't want to see the herd that we have on our land touched, but we can't continue to have the situation we have.
So what's the solution then? Whilst you don't want to see a cull, we can't fence in Donegal either. It's the only solution to this. And listen, there is a procedure with culling in terms of which animals you go after to try and thin out the herd. It's not just taking everything out that might go near a road, as hard for people to, and a lot of that meat can end up too, if it's done correctly, if I'm not mistaken, can end up too in the food chain. So maybe that might help people process it a little bit better. But either way, it's the only real solution to this, isn't it? A cull.
Well, look. Speaking to professional hunters who are certificated and trained, and that they're saying very clearly that if allowed, that if they're given the opportunity at night to hunt, to take out from the herd what they believe needs to be taken out, and you're correct, it's not the whole herd that would be taken out. That food, that meat, will make its way on to somebody's plate in some restaurant somewhere. So yes, it's not a case of just killing and burying. Look, I'm not an expert here, wouldn't even suggest that I am, but what I'm hearing from people that would be, they're strongly suggesting that we need a cull. And it'd be very interesting, and if anybody is in National Parks and Wildlife listening to this, thanks, if they could ring in and clarify, maybe through Highland Radio, the position and the steps that needs to be taken, because
it's possible too. It's possible too that people can acquire the license, but they're not doing so. That maybe they've taken an interest in something else, or there's a more attractive part, because it's something people travel into Donegal to do. Are we seeing less hunters now than we might have in previous years?
Well, look, I would know most of the hunters that would be legal in this area. And they go out and they shoot humanely, they butcher the animal, and that does end up on somebody's plate. And there is the question, because I think we've spoken about this before, Greg, in relation to those that come in poaching, and we certainly don't want to be encouraging that.
No, of course not. But why then? Have you had a chance to chat to any of the people who are hunters? Are they not out shooting deer?
No, there is, and what it is, because I'm very conscious of somebody who's actually listening right now, because he texted me to say put on Highland Radio. They're talking about the deers. Look, they are out. Absolutely, they're out. But there's a huge population of deer now, and it is. My understanding is it's rutting season at the moment, or else it's past one or the other. So that creates difficulties. But look, there's a huge population of deer out there. We see them, well, I don't see them every day, but I see them most days. People are concerned in relation to driving at night now. I know a number of people have chosen not to go anywhere near areas that we know, like Doors, Crawley's really, really bad.
Might I ask, just to try and cover all bases here? I mean, there are signs up saying that there might be deer on the road. They are to be expected. I think anyone driving, particularly in West Donegal, but you could be driving up to Clarchapel and see a deer standing in the middle of the road just outside Donegal town. But I think you're more likely to see them in the areas that we're talking of now. Is there any element to this that drivers need to make sure they're driving at an appropriate speed to react if there is a deer there? Are we ignoring the signs and the likelihood of seeing a deer? Is that an element of it that needs to be looked at before we talk about destroying the population of them?
Well, look, I don't think so, Greg, to be honest with you. And I can only speak of what I'm being told and what I hear in my own community. But it is that people are very conscious of it. I don't believe that anybody that is worried about it is speeding on the road thinking, oh, I'll be grand. I think people do really take care. I think people are very conscious of it, and on that basis that they drive a lot slower. But when you are driving at 30, 40 miles an hour and a deer leaps across the road, even at 20 miles an hour, Greg, you're going to do damage.
For sure. And you raised an interesting question about who pays for that damage, because this caller says, and I'm not sure if it's dependent on your insurance company or if it's anecdotal, but they say if you hit a deer and your car is badly damaged, you cannot claim off your insurance company because it's deemed an act of nature. Now, I'm not sure of that.
I'm not sure about that, but my understanding, speaking to a woman last week, he's in Gidor, was that she unfortunately had an accident and the deer didn't come out well in it at all, but the car was badly damaged, but the insurance company was paying out. So look, listen, we all know insurance companies are there to make profit, and they'll do everything they can not to pay people out.
Of course.
Again, it might be a case of, depending on your insurance. I don't really know an answer to that, but the reality is that...
Stay where you are and I'll wrap up with you. Andy, good morning.
Good morning.
You think there's a simple enough solution to this?
Well, it is and it isn't. Look, deer don't have a natural predator in this country.
That's right.
Well, that's because we got rid of the wolves, isn't it?
That's right. But I mean, nobody's going to reintroduce. No, look, that's a whole different thing, reintroducing wolves. But there will be an imbalance in their population. And plenty of farmers will tell you how much damage a herd of deer will do to crops or forestry, or there's various implications. So, I think it is okay to control the population, and we're not talking about going and wiping out an entire herd. And they have a season. The part times of the year you only shoot the stag. As I say, I'm not an expert on this. No, neither is the caller. But controlling the population when there's no natural remedy for it has to be considered, because we are. Look,
well, I think, Andy, the truth is we don't really have an alternative here, and I think maybe if people could be satisfied that maybe the meat is not going to be wasted, that they're that it enters the food chain, maybe
Absolutely.
They might be easier with the idea.
Absolutely. And look, venison is a great meat. It's low in fat, it's high in iron.
Wouldn't be for me now. I tried it a couple of times, but
well, do you know what the thing is? There's a lot. If you do get poached meat, then it can have a very strong gamey taste because of the way the animal's died. But if it's humanely shot and dispatched
and processed quickly,
treated properly, yeah, absolutely, it is a very tasty thing. I mean, the thing is, people get roadkill and something's died, and it has a shot. It's been scared. Then adrenaline goes through its body, and that taints the whole flavour of the meat. Which is a lot of people's experience of venison, unfortunately.
Right. Okay.
But like, you go to a high-end restaurant this time of year, it's really, really expensive, and it's a high-quality product.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen. Thanks very much for that, Andy. And I think the bottom line is that our steaks end up in our fridges, and our chicken ends up in the fridges, and we don't really like to probably think of what it used to be before it became those cuts. And deer are pretty, and we're coming up to Christmas. But the reality is something is going to have to be done then. Is that the bottom line?
Yeah, and look, personally for myself, I don't have a problem with a cull, and I think that when you are speaking to, even within my own family, there are licensed shooters. I think if deer
were allowed to have guns and hunt humans, I think I might be more comfortable with it. It's not something I'm. Say
that again. Sorry.
If deer were able to carry guns and it was more of a level playing field, rather than stalking them and all that stuff, and I don't know. I
certainly wouldn't want to be coming over my lane in the middle of the night and seeing a deer carrying a weapon. But
you're in your car. That's worse. Saying. I understand. I know what you mean. But that's something morally that we all have to sleep at night.
Andy's correct.
Yeah,
Sorry, Andy's correct. There, it is a high-end quality meat, and if you know somebody locally who is a professional shooter, and who kills the meat or kills the deer properly and butchers properly and know what they're doing, you will not get anything better. And
right.
If you're buying directly off them, obviously you're saving yourself a huge amount of money.
Okay. We have to leave it at that, Micheál.
Not getting wasted.
But all the points well made. Have a lovely day. Thank you too. Right, we'll be back tomorrow morning at 9. Michaela's up.